Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, hang on. I can play this now. Let me know if you can hear it. Okay. I like the music. Okay, that should work. Okay, this should work. I know. I just don't want to get like in trouble. Oh, okay, you've pinned it as well. Just in case. Maybe it's quicker to just do that. We'll see. Yay! It's happening. Okay, right. And then we're gonna do the audio drama afterwards. I've got a massive bottle of wine. Bottle? Glass. Are you ready? Because I'm not ready for this. Okay. Yeah. What's going to end first? Am I going to be on the floor or am I going to finish this novel? Okay. Hola. Hey, Truly. I'm really nervous. Let's find out together. So I've never actually read the whole thing. I've only read excerpts. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a journey for all of us. I'm hoping my interpretation... I don't... Right, okay, hang on. I'm just going to copy and paste it into a word count just for my own sanity. It's fucking long. AJ's. Right, hang on, let's do a word count. Paste. It says paste. It's just another book club. Yeah. It's just another book club. Right. Pasting the text. So. Speaking time 106 gold. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. I should have checked this before. Oh no. 22,969 words. Yay! This is a good idea. It's a good thing that I only checked this as I started the stream. I obviously copied it wrong because I thought it was only 3,000 words, so this is... Honestly, it's probably going to be a terrible fanfic. Are you ready? Right. Just let me know if the audio levels are okay. No, it's 22,000 words. Unit ain't singing that. So yeah, let me know if the audio levels are okay. Once again, this is my fourth year of streaming on Twitch. This is the finale of my Hamiversary celebrations. This week I have done 4 streams. This is my 4th and final stream. Wait, I'm gonna put the I was supposed to put the discounts on. Shit. Right, I'm not ready for this. Okay, I'll start with my promo. Right, so it's a happy Hamiversary. So yeah, we're not stripping. 4 years of streaming with lovely people. Obviously we had a break in between where I moved house and made another baby. Thank you for hanging in there while I did stuff with my life. But overall, I've been a denizen of Twitch for 4 years as a streamer and a member of the Final Fantasy speedrunning community. I started off my Hamiversary by speedrunning the first game that I speedran. Lower the music, but yeah, okay. We'll just do a little bit of this. And a little bit of that. Is that better? Okay, so 4 years on Twitch. We did Final Fantasy IX speedrun. We've done a Final Fantasy X speedrun. Both of them were CSRs, which are cutscene removers for the uninitiated. We also did a Final Fantasy X-2 speedrun. Those are my past 3 streams this week. I'm exhausted. And now we are capping off our Hamiversary celebration by reading the Price of Eternity. Yes. One more chunk, one more year. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. And this is my gift to you. We've talked about this novella at length on the channel. I have described it to you guys. I have ranted about this, and I think it's time for us to experience it together. As I say, I've only ever read snippets of the novella. I've never read the whole thing, but I do know what happens in it. So it's it's gonna be fun. And then afterwards, we're gonna get the official audio drama with the original voice cast, following up my terrible voice acting. We're gonna do all of it. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna drink that massive glass of rosé, and we're gonna do this together. Thank you so much for being here. I may do voices, I may not, but let the record show that this is the official novel written by the scenario. I've never read the whole thing. No, I've only ever read snippets of it. So, it should be fun. This is the official so the official scenes creator, the writer of Final Fantasy X wrote this as a kind of setup for Final Fantasy X-3. This and the audio drama, both of which have more or less been buried by the fan base, like just ignored entirely. Everyone loves Final Fantasy X, and if you love Final Fantasy X, it's only because you don't know what happens in this. They really wanted to set up another sequel, and they kind of like put out feelers, and this was so poorly received that it basically canned everything. I do believe that Square's plans were to either extend the 7 universe or the 10 universe. It is included in the HD collection, and I've spoken to people that was literally just speaking to Keeper about it, and he was like, I've got the HD collection, why don't I know this? And I'm like, because it's just collectively, as a fan base, we just ignored that this happened. We just don't want to know. It's crazy. But yeah, it's been so widely dismissed and hated. Like, they put this out as a kind of floater, like they floated the idea to try and like see if they could drum up some possible sequel to 10, to another game for 10. This was so poorly received that the 10 remake, they went ahead with that, and not 10 remake, 7 remake. They went ahead with the 7 remake instead. If that gives you any indication. Maybe. Don't know. It's all speculation. But they did float this. It was widely derided, and then they went, and they always said that 7 and 10 were the 2 most popular games in the series, the ones that made them the most money, so it would make sense. So this is all just speculation. I'm really putting off trying to read the story. Anyway, when you're ready, I'm ready. Oh my god, right. So this is a translation. So somebody translated this from Japanese into French and then into English. So it's a translation. It's all speculation. So, but without further ado, Final Fantasy X 2.5 Eternal Cost, the novella. Let's fucking go, guys. Right. Chapter 1. Oh, are we calling him Titus or Right, I'm just going to call him Tiddies. Tiddies was huddled up and drifting in the darkness. Pictures were showing themselves in his mind. Was he able to see them, or were they only simple memories? He did not know. He was making out a man. He had a wide back covered by a stream of hairs, and a woman was cuddled up against him. His parents. One day his father had disappeared and his mother, had died of sorrow. As Tiddies had suffered when he had understood he would not be able to comfort her, that her only son was insufficient, the pain intact woke up in his chest. This is bloody hard work already. Just after, he was facing a huge crowd. He answered the cheering with a euphoric smile. Strangely, all sadness had left him. How was it possible? He gave in to this new sensation of well-being, and the questions which were bombarding him flew by. A terrible monster had attacked his home, Zanarkand. Overcome by panic, Tiddies had run for his life and then had got lost. Do not worry, he had only come to find you. I should say that was in italics. Should I do this for the italics? I don't know. After spending hours swimming in Spira's ocean, the young man had got closer to the coast. The scenery, which was giving itself to Tiddies so different from his native region, had thrown him off balance. Despite everything, kindness and softness from inhabitants had put the smile back on Tiddies' face. He had made some friends, and they had travelled together. His sword in his hand, he had hunted down a lot of monsters. He had fallen in love too. The day they had confessed to each other, Tiddies had understood their story was impossible. Although it was a losing battle, he had refused to submit himself to destiny. He was contemplating a sea made of clouds, memories of the day he had left Spira. I don't know. Yeah, Tiddies, shut up. It's either Tiddies, Titus, or Tidis, right? There's 3 different ways. I'm gonna go with my way, Tiddies. And then that means I'm not gonna get copyright struck. Anyway. Shut up. He was contemplating a sea made of clouds, memories of the day he had left Spira. He was looking back at himself. Shut up. He was looking at himself from the back on board the aircraft. Shadowing his fear, he had run along the deck before rushing forward. Suddenly, his chest had exploded with pain. Yuna! This cry shook his mind. I am back! Yuna! His view was not obstructed anymore. The limit between the darkness which was surrounding him and his own body had become clear. He felt pulled from chaos which was wrapping him. I am coming! Sorry. His feet propelled him with all their strength to the world of Yuna. I'm sorry. I'm coming! Right. He was coming closer to a boundary, the limit between here and there. A luminous wall appeared to blink. Was it a call or the symbol of a radiant world? Tiddies was swimming upwards, always upwards. He was a splendid swimmer. He broke through the wall and the light dazzled him. Then he discovered the white and azure world, which was extending beyond the boundary. The air filled his lungs. He grimaced, surprised by an almost forgotten sensation. A smell was tickling his nostrils. He was surrounded by the huge and endless ocean. Under his foot, Tiddies seemed to discern the movement of a massive being. It was the living darkness with which he was part of, just an instant ago. If he was not careful, it was going to claim him back to itself. What in the fucking Kingdom Hearts is this? I will not let myself be pushed around. I have just come back. He turned over and then discovered an island. A hill was overlooking a verdant triangle. Beside, the waves were caressing a deserted beach. He whistled with his fingers. Although he received no answer, he felt reassured. His senses did not lie to him. Everything was real, even if nobody was present to answer his call. He was happy to hear this sound. He started to swim toward the coast. Who was he going to meet first? When will he reach the shore? Where are you, Una? Just now, a deafening rumble cleared up the sky. Tiddies looked up and discovered a sparkling, colourful aircraft. Instinctively, the young man tried to get away from it. The aircraft initiated a large circle above him. Then a hatch opened and revealed a well-known figure. Una! Without hesitation, she jumped into the void. Tiddies watched her diving in direction of the surface of the ocean. She was wearing bright tinted clothes he had never seen. Hot pants. This is not the Una I know, he surprised himself by thinking, but this doubt disappeared when he perceived joy through the eyes of the young girl. She hurried to him in order to embrace him. Just now he knew nothing else meant to her. What? And this feeling made him immensely happy. Is that really you? She asked after hesitating. I think so. He wanted her to answer herself this question. She moved away from him and examined him, as if she wanted to be sure about his identity. So? Yes, it really is you. He let out a cry of relief. I am back. And he clamped his arms around her and held her in his arms. During a short moment, he had been afraid of being rejected. I'm back, he repeated in Una's ears again and again. She embraced him in return. It's you. It really is you. A voice disrupted them. Hey, lovebirds, are we bothering you? Waka. Tiddies turned around in the direction of the coast. The little cove was swarming with people. He recognized Waka and Lulu among the crowd of villagers. Oh, give us one moment at least. Tiddies ended up grabbing Una's hand in order to drag her down to the beach. I'll try and do voices. A new life was starting for him, a life only dedicated to their happiness. This thought was sending him into transports of joy. You're different, Tiddies. I have experienced so many things during your absence, she answered. Her proud way of speaking surprised him, but he decided not to care about it. As long as he could run by her side, past was not important. I want to know everything. This is just the end of 10-2. Ooh. Titties. Titty pics. Oh, he's going out for a goth night. See, these are the male goths. Oh, you look hot, man. Ooh. Sexy. Catra looks hot, guys. Right. The villagers have been waiting impatiently for the return of Una. She had been gone. Oh, this is like a new part. There's like a star. Page break. The villagers had been waiting impatiently for the return of Una. She'd been gone for a long time. Tiddies has known most of the people here. They greeted him. There was Dato, Letty, Botta, Jasu, Keeper. What a pleasure to meet his playmates from the Besaid Aurochs again. Apparently, quite proud, Waka introduced a swaddled infant in a cover to him. I'm presenting you Vidina. He is adorable, don't you think? I can't do Waka. Absolutely, but may I ask who the mother is? That's Tiddies. It's me, a curt voice declared. Tiddies made an about turn, then found himself face to face with an opulent chest. Lulu's, to be precise. What the fuck? Wow. We know who he takes after in the case of beauty, the young man Tiddies declared. Lulu laughed, then took the infant from Waka's arms. How many times did I tell you not to Wait, no, this is Lulu. How many times did I tell you not to expose him to the wind of the open sea? This is a child of the coast. What's the matter? I can't do Waka. You could have waited for the beginning of the tide. But, honey... A smile on his face, Tiddy's interposed himself between the parents. Hey, congratulations, you are finally living as a couple? I knew it. Yes, Lulu conceded. Nothing extraordinary, to be honest, and sometimes I feel like I've had enough of this. Sorry. Well, thanks, Waka protested. She ignored her partner. Say, Tiddies, will you be staying here for a while? If you want me here, he answered with a worried tone. I see. Don't be mistaken. You are most welcome here. Lulu watched around them. The crowd started to leave the beach. We should go back to the village too. Why is my Lulu so bad? She swaddled her baby to her chin and joined people who were returning home. Oh, don't, Zareth. Hope Len's not in here. I can't do her voice. Tiddies understood Lulu's sudden goodbye since the baby was her priority, but he suddenly felt abandoned. Waka gave him a tap on the back. Let's go. She's like so not bothered. She's like, why did I marry this idiot? Anyway, on the road, the members of the Aurochs came to talk with him in turns. They told him about what had happened to them during his absence, and the young man had felt like he had never left. Here we go, yeah. Datto and Keeper told him about their progress, and it made him quite proud. New players had moved in on the island in order to join the team, news which touched him deeply. The tournament in which he had participated 2 years ago appeared to be the triggering factor. They walked half an hour before arriving at the village. Tonight we have planned a banquet directed by the elders, Lulu explained. Help with the preparations. Show yourself in the best light. Make a good impression. But before all that, you can rest there if you want. She was indicating the highest tent of the village. Tiddies recognized the Crusaders' dormitory. What do they do these days? He asked. These days, whatever they want. Yuna's room is inside the temple, in the same place as always. Uh-oh, Waka said, teasingly. He was carrying an armful of wood, probably in order to feed the blaze of the banquet. Tiddy's cheeks did not need fire to become red and scorching. I know what you two are up to. I know what you are up to, you two, Lulu said curtly. I forbid you to go there, Tiddies. Your behavior must not lead to confusion, at least until Yuna presents you to the elders. Furthermore, your attitude will determine villagers' opinion towards you, and since the temple has become useless, Yuna must support an idle clergy. She is not free to act. Do not forget that. She's just ran off for ages. Anyway, she lived in the temple apparently. So was hers like the nuns' quarters or something? Lulu ended her tirade with a shrug, and her child struggled in her arms. Is she not happy? Ask her yourself. What are you telling me is not like her? What you are telling me is not like her, Tiddies. Lulu appeared to agree with him. From what I have seen, her feelings are quite lukewarm. She feels responsible for the situation, but the village stifles her. Therefore she flies over the region with Riku and her team. What do they do? You'll have to ask her about this too, but meanwhile, do not do something which could harm her. Got it. Lulu went back to her own tent, and Tiddies met with the Aurochs. Yuna was standing before the temple. Within reach of voice, however, the young man could not talk to her. It appeared that the entire village had something to tell her with no chance of escape. Of course, she could have come up with an excuse to leave, but she was too polite to do that. Kindness was Yuna's strength, and at this moment, this quality was not failing to irritate Tiddies. She wants to talk to you too, I'm sure, Waka declared. The man tried to negotiate with the elders, but they refused to let the summoner go. They're keeping a sharp eye on you, the young father exclaimed as soon as he came back. Why? I was Yuna's guardian and I stuck by her all the way. I deserve recognition and respect, and yet no one expresses either of them. If you say so, a derisive voice declared behind his back. Riku just arrived this moment. Because of her tanned body, she seemed stronger than in his memories. Hi, Tiddies! It has been a long time, she exclaimed. She made an about turn to call someone. A woman moved forward. She had smooth hair, a stern face, and black clothes displaying only her shoulders. The contrast with Riku was startling. This is Pain, a friend. She has worked with Yuna. Yuna told me about you, the woman declared. Actually, it was more like harping. She examined Tiddies for a moment as if she wanted to gauge him. 2 years have passed, Riku said distantly. And yet... The teenager got closer to Tiddies until her nose brushed the young man and scrutinized him in her turn. 2 years. Tiddies felt his stomach turning into lead. Through his conversations, he had understood that his absence had lasted several months, but 2 whole years? You are always the same, Riku concluded. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. He ended up giving a faint smile. Easy for you to say, look at yourself. Riku leaned and folded her arms under her chest. Tiddies caught sight of Yuna behind her back. You too have not changed, he finished absent-mindedly. He was worried about Yuna. Her taste in clothing was different, and he was wondering if he was missing something else about her. Hey, I'm here, Riku exclaimed, pouting. You are different. You just said the opposite, Tiddies told her. I'm talking about your appearance. Inside, you're not the same. In the past, you were a bit stupider, but you were nicer at least. Thanks for the compliment. They burst out laughing, and she began to narrate the events of the last 2 years. She told him about the movement for truth, the Sphere Hunters and the Gullwings. At first, Tiddies was questioning them, but he ended up annoyed by this flood of unknown names. Tell me about it. You had fun, I can tell, Tiddies. It looks like it's bothering you, Riku. I don't have anything to talk about on my side. It's frustrating. 2 years of absence and not a single new thing? What might I have gone through all this time, Tiddies? A break, Pain said. Her crooked grin made Tiddies think she was joking, but he was sure of something. He could not discover what had happened to him these last 2 years if he stood rooted to the spot speaking. God, I know. There's so many things. Like the monkeys in Zanarkand. In any case, I am happy you had fun. If you had spent your days weeping over my absence, I would have felt guilty. He had spoken lightly, but Riku frowned. I've not cried. I was angry. I needed to understand, to know what happened to you, and why I ended up giving up, but... That was Riku. Tiddies says yes. Yuna seemed to take pleasure with the Gullwings' activities, but in my opinion, she made use of her time. She probably joined joyfully in sphere hunting or concerts, but ultimately her only goal was you. She wanted to find you again. Or forget you. I don't know. Tiddies, me? Riku, yes. She left the village when she saw you in a sphere. Tiddies, excuse me? This boy, Shuyin and Blen, who the heck is she? The girl he had lived 1,000 years ago. She was a summoner and a famous singer. They'd experienced many things, but what you need to know is that Shuyin was your spitting image. Yuna has even wondered whether or not it was you. She had believed that she had a chance to find you again. But after all that, we had found ourselves in front of a 1,000-year-old war machine, Riku declared. Vegna gone. Tiddies, are you serious? It was a tall story, and yet Tiddies had to admit that the reality often defied common sense. He decided to stay quiet. Best not to question that. I know, it is unbelievable, Riku answered, but I've seen it with my own eyes, and I must acknowledge that, if I had wondered about this, I would be dead before understanding what was happening. In order to illustrate her words, she gripped her hands around his neck and stuck her tongue out. The machine was named Vegnagun, Pain declared. It was enormous and would have massacred everyone had Len not stopped Shuyin, but he activated her once more, and we had to deal with it. They gendered the... There's no way in any scenario that Vegnagun is a she. Did I just read that? That's so weird. I don't get it. Okay, never mind. That was confusing. She screwed up her eyes and stared at Titties. What are you looking at? Titties asked. According to Yuna, the Faith would have promised her your return in exchange for having saved Spira. Riku, and then Titties says, so I'm here thanks to him? No, Riku exclaimed. Yuna went out of her way to find you, not him. The other conversations broke off and everyone turned toward the little group. The elders were surrounding their summoner, and Titties felt the heavy pressure of their eyes. He met those of Yuna, and he read the words sorry and later on the lips of the young girl. He smiled, then thinking he had to show his disappointment because of her restraint, he shrugged. Once again, Yuna said later, enunciating carefully the syllables. An old woman frowned. Stay away from the summon. Staring at the young man and the summoner in turns, she reprimanded Yuna, who apologized profusely, but later appeared to never come. The elders spoke to her for a long time, and then a matron declared that Yuna must change and carried her away inside the temple. On the advice of Lulu, Titties joined in the preparations of the banquet. Since the entire village was active, he ended up soon having nothing to do. With an embarrassed smile, he ended up joining Riku and Pain. They all spoke for a moment. They told him about what had happened during his absence in Kamari Ronso. They alluded to New Yevon, the Youth League, and the Machine Faction. The more they were enlarging on Yuna's concert, the more they were irritating him. He had the impression that they were making light of the life-threatening adventure they all had. What's the matter? Riku asked. Are you in a bad mood? Titties, of course not. Yeah, sure, you were going too far. I did my best to tell you everything and you... If that's how it is, fine. I'm going back to the aircraft. Riku, done with him. Riku was asked by Pain to tell Yuna that they were going to leave and that they would come back in a few days. He barely mumbled some words by way of answer. Nothing worse than being alone in the middle of a busy crowd, with lots of things. He did not want that. He took refuge under the tent and he let himself fall onto a bed. His mind was full of questions and thoughts as the day was fading. Soon, Titties thought. He closed his eyes and imagined Yuna's plausible face when she would finally meet him. Waka woke him up. The boat's going to return with the catch of the evening. They will need some help to bring the fish to the village. Come on, let's go. This is a job for the Aurochs. That wasn't good. The team made the decision to play blitzball while waiting for the return of the boat. Provocative, Keeper proposed to race to the cove. Titties accepted and rushed forward on the path with the others. However, he hurtled down the slope with only Yuna in mind, not one single thought for the competition. She surely wonders where I am. I should have stayed in the village. You're slow, Titties, one of the boys exclaimed. He looked around him. He was running as fast as he could, and yet everyone was outrunning him, except Waka, who's fat. Oh, that was fat shaming. I'm so sorry. Be careful, Waka, the man ahead mocked. It's nearly nightfall. You'll risk falling. Slow down or you'll hurt yourself. Oh, shut up, the person concerned replied. Yet he was laughing as loudly as the others. Enough, guys, stop, he surrendered after a minute. Yeah, I mean, there's already trouble in paradise. Unable to catch up, he had decided to force his team to wait for him. Titties took advantage of the opportunity in order to slow down and finally stop himself. Well, Waka, retirement did a number on you. Short-winded, running with sweat, the person concerned nodded before getting going again. You remember the tournament in which we have participated in 2 years ago in Lucca? I had planned to stop playing just after. I had told you about it, hadn't I? I wanted to become a trainer, but we lost the next match, a bitter failure. It was different from when we were losing every time, but we have suffered from this. After this failure, we've trained every day with all our strength. The villagers have even released us from our chores in order to let us give ourselves entirely over to the game, and we have improved. I even think we've reached our best level. By dint of watching Dato and Letty, I've wanted to practice again, but at this time, Yuna started talking about the gull wings and to flail around. Lulu's stomach had filled out. and I've been more involved in the affairs of the village. I'm as motivated as anyone. I'm still young too, you see. Well, he's only in his 20s, right? He shrugged as he was saying, you understand. He was still a bit as indecisive as before, Tiddy's thought. Yeah, it's not good. He shrugged as if he was saying, you understand, blah blah. But every day Lulu reprimands me. Everyone's arguing. He scratched his head as if wanting to hide his embarrassment. The rest of the team was now far ahead from them. The two friends were not able to hear them any longer. Tiddy's was moving, these 2 lost years in mind, when Waka placed his arm around Tiddy's neck. Were we this close before? The young man asked himself. Busy to seek in his memories, he kept walking, pushed by Waka. The path they were following was surrounding the island. It was named the Waterfall Path. Some thin droplets were falling from the top of the cliff, and they ended up soon being soaked. Waka's fingers trailed up along Tiddy's neck with a circle movement up to his hairs and started to scratch his head. The situation was getting more strange. Is he coming on to him? What the hell are you doing? Tiddy's ended up exploding while pushing his hand away from pushing away the hand of his friend. Sorry, but I had to be sure. Waka appeared to regret his actions. You really are real. You're not an illusion, a spectre from the far plane? I hope so, Tiddy's. Of course I'm real. Of course you were real, Waka exclaimed joyfully before he burst out laughing, as if making amends. However, Tiddy's was not going to forget the words pronounced by his friend, forever etched in his mind. He thought of the other world, this place where the dead could show themselves in reaction of prayers and talk with each other. He remembered his first trip to the far plane. He'd thought about his mother, and she had appeared before him. Was he not a ghost as well? Are spectres only hallucinations? He asked Waka. Oh, they're kind of like real visions. Tiddy's. In other words, Waka. Here's how I understand things. The fireflies react to the mind of the one who goes into the other world and takes the shape of the person they want to meet. The conversation is just made up by the living. Therefore, the dead can only say what the living wants to hear. If the living wishes for encouragement, the dead will give them some. If they wish for pity, the dead will comply. Tiddy's. Really? The explanation was lucid. Something unusual with Waka. Abruptly, Tiddy's understood. Since his earliest childhood, Ina's previous guardian had believed and followed Yevon's teachings. Then, one day, he had discovered it was a lie. Without the support of the faith, he tried to explain the world which was surrounding him. This was what was hidden behind his so-clear answer. But we're on Besaid, not in the far plane, so I am real. That was Tiddy's, I think. Then Tiddy's pinched Waka's waist. With a wonderful cry of indignation, the man ran away on the double. He pinched his belly. And that's the end of chapter 1. Before you ask, there's 11 chapters. Okay, I'm gonna have a bit of chocolate or something. Chocolate. How are you enjoying it? It is a novel about Final Fantasy X characters. Alright. Chapter 2. Yeah, they all hate each other. Why is Tiddy's like immediately like being... Why is Yuna immediately like being... And like, let's find out together. Besaid's waters overflowed with fish, but the catch ensured only the inhabitants' subsistence. In order to earn money, they produced a textile specific to the island. These last months, they had started to take advantage of the influx of people coming to visit the homeland of the High Summoner, Yuna, and they'd converted a part of the temple to accommodate the travellers. Yeah, at 10-2, everyone, the girls all ended up realising they weren't going to speak to each other ever again. Riku is the only reason. I think Riku and Pain are the only reasonable ones so far. When Tiddy's arrived at the cove, the setting sun was dyeing the sky in orange, but the boat had not shown itself yet. "What is this small boat?" the young man asked. He was indicating a skiff moored at the pontoon. Waka stood up straight. "I'm presenting you the Aurochs Ace." Since his return, Tiddy's had heard talk of the training boat of the team, the one in front of him, a lot of the time. He had imagined it bigger. The figurehead, which looked like a commemorative plate, probably symbolized a Blitzball trophy. Unlike the original, always made of golf, this reproduction was only painted in yellow. I assume gold. "Hello, Elliot." Just don't. The voices. I mean, you haven't heard my Lulu yet. This reproduction was only painted in yellow. The ensemble cut a sad figure. "Thanks to this boat, the Aurochs have made considerable progress." That was Waka. The shallow water surrounded Besaid. It stretched out so far that it was difficult to train here. In so little water, jumping was dangerous. It was a commemorative plate that probably symbolised the Blitzball trophy, so I think they've put a plate on the boat to say that they won the trophy once. They probably lost the trophy and they had to give it back. Here is why the Aurochs lacked strength when they had to dive or rise to the surface. Thanks to the Ace, the team could rejoin from now on in deeper areas. In this way, they'd adopt tactics using the whole sphere pool, like the deep and shallow kick. "It has revolutionized our game," Botta summarized, sticking out his chest. Tiddy's patted the pectorals of his friend with a smile of approval. "Originally, it was used for a little goods haulage at Port Killica," Waka explained. "We've restored it by ourselves. We've financed the purchase and the restoration work thanks to the villagers' donations, and from now on we must not disappoint them." They started to warm up under Letty's orders. With Data, Botta, Jasu, Keeper, and Rash, the new recruits, Meska and Karam, Waka and Tiddy's were there. There were now 10. Waka started to form 2 teams. Letty whistled with his fingers and the match commenced. Who's Rash? They were following the rules of Half Blitz, a version which forbade players to disappear under the surface with or without the ball, subject to penalties. Tiddy's received 2 already. He found it hard to control his movement. "It's no big deal, don't worry about it." The cheering from his playmates was depressing him. Formerly, a level difference existed between a star player and a team from the countryside. Had the Aurochs improved so much, or had Tiddy's regressed so far? "Becklem Clash!" Botta shouted suddenly. The ball hit Tiddy's in the face. Becklem, the previous trainer of the team, was infamous for his severity. The unknown technique taught by someone he'd never met shook him up definitively. In order to turn this stinging setback into a joke, he played dead. He was drifting on the surface of the sea, arms and legs flabby, when he heard a voice declaring, "We're going to end this. The team that scores the next point wins the match, okay?" Tiddy stood up and noticed Keeper near himself, who was bearing a forced smile, and added, "The night is falling and we're not going to see the ball anymore." That's my Keeper. The long await... I don't know why. Yeah, we need more Blitzball. The long-awaited boat returned to the port, lit by powerful lamps. The Aurochs held it to moor and unloaded the freight. The wooden crates were overflowing with fresh fish. Players and sailors moved the catch in bags they shared out and put on their backs. "And me?" Tiddy's asked. "You're not giving me something to take to the village?" "Sorry," one of the fishermen answered. "It was not a good day." The man of around 40 years old broke off to stare at Tiddy's. Displaying an impressive stature, he had a luxuriant moustache, but his skin was very pale. "My name is Tiddy's. Nice to meet you. Bria." He handed him a trident. "Carry it for me, would you?" "You fish with this weapon?" Amused, Bria shook his hand. "With a net. This is to protect myself." Tiddy's. "Against monsters?" "Do you have a moment, Waka?" Bria asked point blank. The 2 men drew away. Tiddy's could not hear their conversation, but Waka's expression was enough for him to understand. just after the Aurochs, who were discussing the best way to cook fish, returned to the village, leaving Tiddy's and Bria behind in the cove. Under the moonlight, the ocean was calm. Gelatinous and translucent creatures were crossing the beach without worrying about the men. To finally disappear in the trees, monsters were still there, Tiddy's thought. Could he still fight them? Did he have the strength to do it, or was he just a shadow of his former self, as the blitzball merchant had shown him? I don't know. I had forgotten, Bria murmured, while staring at the blitzball which was lying at his foot. Throw me a pass, Tiddy's explained. He hoped to start the conversation again, but the fisherman ignored him and just stared at the young man, who returned this attitude in equal measure for lack of anything better. Bria's long hairs were waving because of the night breeze, and with a closer look he appeared to be younger than what Tiddy's had thought. His moustache made him look older, but the most striking was his eyes. They were faded blue and brought to mind two pieces of glass polished by the waves. These eyes, Bria began. Surprised, Tiddy drove the trident into the sand and rushed to the ball. These eyes have contemplated too long a distance. Excuse me? Tiddy's. This declaration was quite enigmatic and needed an explanation, and yet the fisherman became silent again. Tiddy's hit the ball, which rose above his head. He caught it with his right hand and moved it in his left hand with a smooth movement. Knee, head, shoulders. The sequence was deeply fixed in his muscles. Since his interlocutor was staying quiet, Tiddy's changed his approach. You were not living here 2 years ago. No, I came to live near the High Summoner. I see. I take care of the temple under monk's authority. A month ago I was transferred from Bavel. Did you hear about the members of New Yevon? Yes. A bloody bunch of chickens, in my opinion. Tiddy's answered with an awkward smile, but deep down he was applauding the fisherman's words. Really? What do you think about the Youth League? Minus habens. In other words, all stupid. You are quite strict. And what about the machine faction? Focused on the ball located on his head to prevent it from falling, Tiddy's was waiting for Bria's answer. I saw you coming. Excuse me? Not really sure if he understood, the young man turned in the direction of the ocean, and the ball fell in the sand. At midday we heard of Yuna's return thanks to the radio, and I followed the villagers. I saw you emerging from the ocean. How did you reach this place? Tiddy's did not feel like answering his question at all. An ill-conceived explanation could produce a disastrous impression. When has that ever stopped him before? If he got into trouble with this man linked to the religion of Yevon, who knows what consequences it could have for Yuna? 2 years ago you came from Zanarkand, not from the ruined city we know, but from a fast-growing city. Nobody believes this, but I am willing to trust you. Thanks? How did you get to Spearham back then? Tiddy stayed quiet. According to the rumour, Sin carried you. I don't know what to say. Do you think he could have sent you back to Zanarkand? Once again, he did not want to answer his question. Anyway, Yuna had defeated Sin. He did not have a way to confirm this hypothesis, yet Tiddy's was certain about one thing. The city I had known doesn't exist anymore. It was the one from the summoning. I would like you to tell me more about it. Tiddy shrugged without obligation. Sin had spread chaos across Zanarkand. How could the city... Sin had spread chaos across Zanarkand. How could the city have survived such a disaster? It doesn't really matter. Recently, I've pursued a lot of science. I think I'll be able to resolve the mystery which has been keeping me busy for a long time. I really don't know who's saying what now. He's trying to figure out a mystery. Which mystery are you talking about? The greatest of all. The man burst out laughing and Tiddy's lost his temper. Are you making fun of me? What do you want? Did you come here to live near Yuna, or have you been transferred from Bavel? What do you want to tell me? What's the true motive behind your presence? I beg your pardon if I hurt you. My life is a bit too complex to be summed up. Humans try to introduce casual relationships, but the truth is that these links we invent them a posteriori. I hate unknown words that you speak in. These unknown words that you speak in. Tiddy's immediately regretted his words. Bria said goodnight to him and left. Sorry, the young man murmured. To his utter astonishment, the fisherman waved to him. He had heard him. Titties thought he had just gone so far as to deny Oren, to whom he owed a lot. Bria was right. The lives of some people were too complex to be summed up within a few words, and when such a person wanted to hand down the fruit of its experience, it probably expressed itself like him. Maybe I will find myself in the same situation one day. Yeah, that was Latin. Remaining alone on the shore, Tiddes ascended the pontoon and laid down on it, his face turned in the direction of the sky. Oppressive clouds were hiding the stars. The wind was picking up. The water was lapping against the pillars of the pier, appeared to accentuate itself. Once the aurochs dropped off the fish at the village, the banquet would begin. Tiddes could not talk to Una. Was it a punishment? Had someone managed to prevent the young man from seeing her? If Tiddes ran into the one behind these goings-on, he would shrug it off and finally talk to the young woman. It would be so enjoyable. Humans try to introduce casual relationships, but the truth is that these links, we invent them a posteriori. Whatever this means. Frustrated, Tiddes let out a cry and tapped his foot on the boards of the pontoon. The wood returned a dull sound, but another sound, more high-pitched, metallic, answered him. The boy stood up straight to look around him. Vestiges of antique mechanisms remained in various locations of the island. Tiddes doubted that someone knows about their initial purpose. Some of these ruins were erected near the cove-like chimneys, their orange paint faded by age. The big gull was perched on the vestige nearest to the water. It was holding something between its legs and was pecking feverishly at the object. The strange noise had come from it. Gong, gong, gong. Reassured, Tiddes laid down once again and closed his eyes. By association of ideas, his mind opted for the gull wings. Una had spent the last 2 years with this group made of young people who seemed nice to her. To think that life had continued during his absence and that his friends, yes, even Una, had fun, made him feel uncomfortable. He saw again the smile of the summoner and the coloured clothes she wore from now on. She was no longer this shy 17-year-old girl, oppressed by the ordeals that he had met 2 years ago, but a blooming woman. He sighed. Would he have preferred her weeping over his disappearance? If someone had asked him the question, he might have given a positive answer, and he hated himself for that. On edge, he started to shake on the wood of the pontoon. It was night time. The fish was ready, yet Una was not there. Unsurprisingly, several elders were missing too. "The old ladies got mixed up together again," Wacko murmured quietly in order not to be heard. That wasn't quiet. He knew that they had waited impatiently for the return of Una. All the villagers older than the young woman, Waka included, had contributed to her blossoming, and it made them quite proud. Orphan of the High Seven of Nebraska, she'd spent her childhood at the temple, surrounded with people with unshakable faith. As to answer the elders' prayers, she'd followed the path of her father. She'd defeated sin, had brought the long-awaited calm back to Spira, and then the truth about Yevon's deception had been fully exposed and the church had collapsed. Thank you, sis. Despite everything, elderly people continued following Yevon's teachings. Everything they taught us is not wrong, they esteemed. From now on, everyone was free to believe whatever they wanted, yet the elders showed very little tolerance towards the others. To their eyes, the youth was mistaken about the way in life, and had too much fun. Since always, the village had worked like a family, and the gap which was growing wider between the generations was breaking Waka's heart. The oldest were incapable of getting used to these disruptions. Young leaders like Nujul and Barrelite embodied the change. Their influence had extended very fast, even to territories as distant as Besaid. A piece of information which reached villagers 3 days earlier was already outdated. The new era was disconcerting the elders who had always known an immutable world. Fortunately, Una had not forgotten what she owed them, and in these vague times they could trust this young woman. "I wonder what they plan to do with her," Wacko murmured. He headed for the temple and filled his lungs with the familiar perfume, mixed with the smell of damp stones that the building was releasing. He was happily reminded of his childhood. A gift of Yevon. End of chapter 2. Right then. I hope you're enjoying this. It's so fun. Sorry about my lack of creativity with my voices. Chapter 3. There's something on the roof! The man let the woman, who was pressed closely against him at the higher level of the first air duct, separate from him bluntly. Holding their breath, they kept their ears open. Once again, the same noise as if something hard was hitting metal. The sound was coming from above and was resonating through the walls on a regular pace. Gong, gong, gong. What is it? Kush whispered. A bird, Valm answered. A gull, judging from the strength of the knocks. Evidently, Kush laid down once again on the cushions, showing expressly her wish to laze a bit more. But Valm rose and put on his light armour. The young girl was looking at him, adjusting the leather pieces on his chest, composed of flexible muscles. How do you know that this is a gull? Only birds and monkeys can get up there. Thanks to the sound, I guess an animal quite big is hitting the metal with a hard object. Why imagine a monkey with a tool rather than a bird with a strong beak? In this place there are only gulls. You are correct, but what does it desire? Maybe you should ask it. Yet again, you are correct. I don't know what they're saying. When she was a child, Kush had been chosen to take a summoner training course. She only knew the Bavel Haven and this island. Her lack of knowledge was astounding. Here is why she came round to Valm's opinion. When they met for the first time 3 years earlier, he had thought she made fun of him. He despised her silently, convinced to deal with a too-spoiled child. Once enlightened about her personal history, he'd been seized with sympathy for the young woman, and to his astonishment, his affection had turned into love. Never before Kush would Valm have thought to love a summoner. These people were sensitive to fireflies, that is, the deceased. Formerly, Valm imagined them ominous, obsessed with death. However, Kush, like all her comrades, felt the same emotions than the others. She was no different from Valm. Despite everything, the authorities had gathered people gifted of this talent and had created an elite corps subjected to strict instructions. None of them were volunteers. Summoners were so uncommon, these could not refuse. Kush and her fellows sacrificed themselves for the government. In exchange, the serenity of their close family was guaranteed to 25 years after the death of the summoner. Kush seemed noble. She was always dressed to the nines, yet she came from a poor family, which reassured Valm, coming from the same background. He had never left the island, but his oath had rescued his kind from poverty. Am I to understand that summoners were recruited based on a certain skill set? Like, people who... He was just a poor boy from a poor family. So, it sounds like they were recruited rather than volunteered, and they were recruited because they had some kind of affectation that gave them a connection to the fireflies, rather than whoever felt like they could be a summoner. Like, that's changed my opinion on what a summoner is, because it's like they found these people with a skill set and then recruited them rather than any old person off the street volunteering. I find that interesting. Spare from his life on a sports recipe. Hello, hello, hello. Beach mouse. We're reading a novel. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm going downstairs first, he declared. The Bedolls must have had enough of waiting for me. Could we not see them without them? Could we not see each other without them next time? I'm assuming this is Kush. Why? No, this is Valm. Valm, why do they annoy you? Kush, not at all. I would like us just to meet. Just both of us. Valm, and who will support your palanquin? She laughed gently. I can walk as well as you, no better. Valm, probably, but venomous insects introduced by the enemy have increased and I fear that. Kush? Are their bites dangerous? Valm? Infernal. Wait. The boy and the girl. Yeah, this is very, that's midichlorians if I've ever heard of them. She laughed. Oh, hell does not appeal to me at all. He knew what she was referring to. When he was a child, his grandmother was used to talking about this in the evenings. It was the place of endless throes, where those who had dared to defy the gods were sent dead or alive. He who wanted to avoid it must obey his whole life. After his death he would be reborn in the form of a flower in the other world, as a reward. Hell or flowers? Flowers in Farplane. When he was young, Valm considered these two fates were equal, but his mother knew so many anecdotes to justify every rule that it was futile to question. From now on, he understood the old lady was entirely devoted to the authorities, which embodied gods in the tangible world. No. The words are all similar, but the story is not. Is it not possible to avoid the insects without resorting to the bedals? Kush asked. Valm, probably I could carry you in the dangerous areas. Kush, that would be wonderful. Valm, great, now dress up. He headed for the spiral staircase in order to go down and talk to the bedals. I don't know what the bedals are. Just before he set down his feet on the first step, he glanced behind his shoulder. Kush had stood up straight to look at the outside through the opening. Her body was slim as the one of the goddess Lucera, except for her hips, which were rounder. Valm was nearly surprised she did not have wings. The delicate item of clothing she had put on slipped, which revealed the mark ornamenting her lower back on the right, an adorable heart-shaped mark. There's someone at the water's edge, Kush whispered. He rushed to her side. The moonlight was allowing them to make out the details of the landscape. Over yonder on the pontoon. A young man was standing near a shabby boat which was rocking with the waves. A refugee, Valm thought, but why sneak inside the island? This is suicide. Maybe. She has a tramp stamp, yeah. Without taking his eyes off the unknown person, he hurried her to dress up, and then he raised his forefinger and his thumb to his mouth in order to call the bedals. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't make sense if they are bedals. Be Albed, because they're in a temple and she's a summoner, so I don't know. But it was not time to whistle. The man, apparently nervous, was unloading a bag from the boat. After a moment of struggling to unknot it, he brought out a round object. A ball? The unknown person put the ball before him. Valm did not know what to think. He understood that a refugee might have drifted to the island, but what did he intend to do? Play? It was absurd. The man turned in the direction of the tower and raised his eyes to heaven. A ruse. He knows I'm gazing at him. With a nonchalant step, he mowed away the ball. He was a good actor, Valm had to admit. That's a bomb, he cried out. He took Kush by the waist and snatched her away from the window and pushed her against the pillar in the middle of the room. He was pulling her down the stairs when the device exploded. Valm lost his balance. Instinctively, he held the head of the young girl against his chest. His back hit the angle of the stairs and he let out a whine of pain. The back of his head bounced on a hard surface. He recognized the smell of gunpowder. He was going to faint. He could not avoid it. But as soon as he would regain consciousness, he would go kill the murderer. He would not let this island fall in the hands of the heretic mage. Proto-Albed? Ah, okay. So someone's just lobbing balls at them. You know, standard. Okay, that's the end of chapter 3. Ladies and gents. Can you believe it? Okay, you ready for chapter 4? Proto-Albed. I think that was in the past, because I do know that part of the story is them going into the past. I don't think they're all bad. Oh yeah, I need some wine before we start. So that was like in the past, maybe? Maybe? Who knows? Okay. Right, chapter 4. The Celsius was ripping slowly through the night air. It could not fly more slowly, else it would have run the risk of stalling and crashing. No, it was not clearly said. In the cockpit, Payne was listening to Riku's, brothers and Buddy's conversation. At his post before his monitor, Shinra was turning his back to his comrades, focused on his task. Maybe he was making essential calculations for the flight, or maybe he was killing time with a puzzle, but his glasses and his mask, his facial expression remained inscrutable. Is the storm approaching? Payne asked as she took advantage of a pause in the conversation. The Albed who expressed themselves in a different language from hers spoke too fast, and she did not understand half their conversations. Riku was keeping a close watch on the radar. A huge depression is approaching Besaid on the south, she announced. It's gonna blow hard. Some of these translations, man. We must inform them of this. The radio doesn't work. The radio doesn't work, Shinra answered detached. Brother yelled, but the pilot contented himself with a shrug. It's working less and less. Why not? And not only with Besaid. Why? I don't know. I'm just a kid, you know? The boy sometimes seemed annoying, but nobody knew machines better than him. Payne held him in a high regard, thanks to his skills, quite the opposite of Brother, who poured out ranting. Payne did not know what their leader was saying, but his shouts and his gesticulations were irritating her at the highest point. Payne gets me. In this case, she began, no one listened to her. Shut up, she yelled. Brother stopped brusquely, standing in a ridiculous posture. Yes? Should we not hurry to reach Besaid before the storm? The village is made of Hessian. We have to inform them of this. That was Payne. If the wind takes the tents, the inhabitants will lose everything, Riku acquiesced. Brother seemed about ready to cry. They'd left Besaid at top speed like thieves in the night, and they had nowhere to go, but Buddy had preferred not to let their leader too close to the lovebirds, Yuna and Tiddies. After all, this is just a storm, Payne reconsidered. The inhabitants have overcome worse situations. Their leader was pathetic. Nobody respected him. You think so? Riku asked. According to the radar. Oh, it went off. She may have her days, Shinra declared. End of the road for her. After all, this is a millinery device. A breakdown is nonsensical. I'm just a kid. Can you not build a new one? Let me think. Why not? After all, they are better comfortable with the machines, but we only know how to use them. Of course, in order to exhume them, figure out their function, recondition them, and understand how to operate them, we have to develop knowledge and a certain dexterity, but we cannot rebuild new ones. We can't build new ones. Sometimes I wonder why. Don't you find that strange? Even though Yevon loathed them, we've contributed to their use, but we've not retained a single plan in order to build them. Admittedly, we rediscover some rules and forms of calculation, but only when it's necessary. Our ancestors left nothing. Why? Here resides the greatest mystery of the history of the Albed. Everyone hates Brother. Shinra is basically saying they can fix existing machina that they salvage, but they can't make their own machina, which seems strange because they've got machina that they... Never mind. I don't think that's a really good argument. That was the end of chapter 4, by the way. That was just... Okay. Chapter 5. Tiddies has got on the Aurochs ace. He had started to explore the boat in order to kill his ennui. He thought of the old combustion engine, in charge of transporting the team from the coast to the training area, even without wind. A powerful machine was necessary to see the job through the end. On the deck near the stern, he found a hatch. It revealed the glaring engine in question. A ladder allowed him to reach it, but Tiddies was averse to going down. His interest for mechanics was obsolete. Near the bow, 2/3 the deck, rose a little hut. The narrow area housed the rudder wheel and a console whose buttons and sticks controlled the engine of the boat. There must be a radio, Tiddies thought. He took a close look at the trident left in a corner, and when he put it down, he brought down a ball, which rolled to the back of the hut, close to the partition facing the rudder. There, stairs led under the deck. Yeah, I feel like they have better control over robots, but okay. He went down, crossed the door, and went into the cabin. This cubbyhole was furnished with a double sofa, a bed, and a little table. I cannot understand the dimensions of this boat. Both of the exterior walls, sofa side and bedside, had a round porthole. Close to the waterline, they allowed people to enjoy the landscape. The moonlight, which was filtering inside the cabin, was faintly illuminating the ensemble. Tiddy's laid down on the bed. The ace was not in her youthful prime anymore, but this room adorned a state of conscientious contentment, I think is what it wanted to say. A besaid fabric covered the walls, and the decoration, worthy of a hotel of the capital, ornamented the ceiling. The ensemble was perplexing Tiddies. The boat could transport 10 people, but this cabin could only receive 7 of them if they closed up. And in order to enjoy it with a minimum of comfort, 2 people were the maximum. The young man was not in a mood to penetrate the mysteries of this boat. Many of the questions were taking up his mind. For example, Tiddies closed his eyes. What, for example? The falling sensation woke him with a start. He stood up straight and retched. The boat was oscillating from top to bottom because of the swell. The wind had picked up. Did I fall asleep? The man wondered aloud. How much time had passed? He did not know. The light was not penetrating the cabin anymore. He assumed that the clouds were hiding the moon and stars. He gazed out through a porthole. The coast was out of sight. You gotta be joking! He jumped over the table and pressed his nose against the other porthole, but darkness did not reveal anything to him. The ace had left the cove. Until proven otherwise, it was moored. Oh no! It cannot be! He stood up straight and banged violently his head. He swore under the influence of anger and pain, and then he started to feel for the exit. He found it when his forehead collided hard with the doorframe. With one hand on his bump, which was swelling at full speed, he grumbled. While going back up the stairs leading to the upper deck, he stopped himself suddenly when he found a shape standing at the helm, a white hood on her head. She wore a dress ornamented with red patterns at the hems, which revealed leather shoes. A slight perfume was fluttering in the wind. The smell brought the mind to Besaid Temple. She's wearing a white mage hood. Yeah. Una! His voice broke. Una! He repeated. She turned around and lowered her hood. Then with her fingertips she brushed Tiddy's forehead. Maybe I should have taken a sphere. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt anymore. That's Tiddy's. He shook his head so strongly that the young woman burst out laughing. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Una. It was terrible, I thought. Tiddy's. She put a forefinger on the lips of her partner. In my case, I've waited for 2 years. He nodded and she pulled her finger away. Sorry, he whispered. It's okay, Una. Una, Tiddy's. He took a shy step forward, but she turned her back on him. With a hesitant hand, she activated a stick. Departure of the Oryx Ace for a private cruise, she announced joyfully. And with a weak rumble, the engine set off. Then the vibration spread through the whole boat. Do you know the other name of this boat? She asked. How am I supposed to know? He replied more curtly than he wished. The Aurochs called it the Buddies. Tonight I let them know that we embarked, just you and me. Hey V! It's a stick-driven boat. Hey! Welcome in V. We're reading it's the novel sequel to Final Fantasy X-2. We're on to chapter 5, and I am calling, so just before anyone says anything, disclaimer, I will be calling Tiddies. He's called Tiddies because the way you can say it is either Tidis, Tiddis, or Tidis. And I have decided to just call him Tiddies for the purpose of reading without losing my mind. I am doing well. I hope you enjoyed your stream. Welcome in. Usually I speedrun Final Fantasy games. However, it's my 4-year anniversary. So today, this book might have been written by AI. Today is my 4th stream this week. I've done 4 streams this week for 4 years of streaming on Twitch. And we've done a Final Fantasy IX speedrun, we've done a Final Fantasy X speedrun, we've done a Final Fantasy X-2 speedrun, and today we are reading the sequel novel, which I found a translation of. Yes, it's bad AI. I will say that it's been translated from Japanese to French to English. So yeah, I just feel like everyone's just gonna have a go at me either way. Also, it means that like no one can copyright me for calling him titties. So it's titties. He's called titties. Like I always call him titties. But yeah, I hope you had a lovely stream. Welcome in. We're on to chapter 5. I've been reading for the past hour. So yeah, 5 chapters in an hour. I guess it's gonna be 2 and a bit hours. That makes sense. I'm also chugging rosé wine. So if I'm getting quite pink in the face, that's why. But yeah, let's continue. They're on a boat. So Titties and Una are now on a boat. They've been separated since they both returned to Besaid Island after the events of the end of the good ending of 10-2. So they went back to the island. Una immediately got whisked away, and now they have met on a boat, and Una is driving the boat away. Titties is very insecure, but yeah, nothing has happened. There you go. So Una's now kidnapping him on a boat. She turned around. Her face was radiant, but she immediately lowered her eyes as if she was dazzled. The little cabin which was waiting for them in his mind. Titties felt his cheeks scorching. I love Blitzball. I hate the Blitzball minigame when you have to do the speedrun, but I like Blitzball. We've just left port, she explained. Do you mind if we row along the coast until the other side of the island? The wind has got stronger, but we could find a place to drop anchor. I don't know. His cheeks are scorching. As you wish. I don't care about the wind. I think they're gonna drive this boat into the oncoming storm. He got closer to Una and put his left hand on the rudder wheel over the one of the young woman. With his right palm, he pushed the stick forward. Under their foot, the noise of the engine heightened and the ace gently accelerated. How's this for foreplay? Do you know how to steer? Una. I was practically born on a boat. Titties. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you so much for the raid. Titties remembered all the times he'd spent on his father's boat. His skills were tuned enough to steer. He looked back on everything he knew about navigation. How was it possible to forget all this knowledge? But Una's perfume, mixed with the smell of the sea, was preventing him from thinking. Shall we go down? He suggested. Shouldn't we wait until we drop the anchor? It'll be safer, Una. Don't bother with that. Come on, let's go down. Titties. End of chapter 5. Some of this translation is amazing. Right, I need another drink of wine before I continue this. Oh my god. Just when they were getting to the juicy bits. Okay, chapter 6. He had used all his ammunition and the grenades he had and had slaughtered several of the enemies. This is not what I was expecting. Moving towards him. He had only realised the weather change when he had left the island. Forewarning signs always arrived before a storm, oppressive clouds or a stronger wind. But blinded by excitement and fear of battle, he had noticed nothing. When we struggle for our survival, we do not think about what will happen, consequently. The rain was so heavy that he found it difficult to see before him, and the gusts were projecting sea spray into his eyes. The small boat was pitching too strong. He was losing his balance. A string of curses which would have made his mother unconscious were rushing out of his lips. Calm down, he whispered. He wanted to leave the island as quickly as possible. He esteemed he had completed his mission. He had identified one of his targets at the top of the air tower. The man seemed young, but that was not Johit. He was dark-haired. Maybe Mera? His guards were present along with someone else. Probably a future Aeon Core. It must be a member of his family or a kin. The more links between Summoner and Aeon Core were strong, and the more powerful the entreated creature was, he had hoped the bomb had killed them both. He had to eliminate the mage at least. Too dangerous. The others were easy to dismiss. The war between the two cities seemed endless, yet he had just given his life in order to put an end to it. Yes, he had sacrificed himself for peace. No! The murderer lowered his hands and raised his eyes to heaven. The wind was stinging him, and the sea spray was interfering with his sight. The truth! He had never thought of the outcome of the war. His single motivation was the summoner princess. He would have hoped to live by her side, to be his most loyal servant. He looked back on the ceremony, over the course of which he had taken an oath. She had kissed him. The sweet smell of her hands came to mind, and this memory was enough to appease him. Suddenly the murderer appeared to calm down. Valm was crawling in the shallow water. Only his upper head from his eyes protruded from the surface. He was approaching. He made out the face of his enemy. He was still a teenager. Had the mage brainwashed him, or had the young man succumbed to the sorceress's charms? As if he felt his presence, the murderer turned over. Valm leaped up and jumped into the small boat. He grasped the black hairs of the boy, attracted him, and kneeled him in the stomach. Okay, it's a fight. Chat is eating tonight. This is thrilling shit. The enemy doubled up and vomited. Standing above him, Valm unsheathed his saber. The teenager let out an inarticulate cry. His task completed, Valm attached little importance to the fireflies of his victim, which were already vanishing. He preferred to rummage through the ship. He found no weapon, but thought that the small boat equipped with an engine could turn out helpful. He wanted to call for his comrades, but he had only his fingers to whistle. Maybe a fire? No. Because of the storm, none of these solutions would prove to be efficient. Shading his eyes with his hands in order to see more clearly, Valm turned in the direction of the top of the island. O Lucera, goddess of war, grant us your blessing, protect us with your outspread wings. Hidden under the ground at the center of the island, the south division of the board of the wall was isolated from outside noises. The majority of the station troops had gathered inside the stateroom. Silence was prevailing in the big room, hardly disrupted by some deadened tears. At the center of the room, the altar was almost indistinguishable because of the spray of flowers. Kush had just finished the sending. Sloane, the brother of the victim, was still kneeling, his shoulders heaving with sobs. She came closer to him and put a hand on his strong back. And Anne Lee, whose real name was Poland, was dead. So why did I need to know that much? I thought Kush and Valm were dead. But his beautiful face was so peaceful that he appeared to sleep. The summoner was still a teenager, yet his soul had only just begun going to the world beyond. Alb, the team leader, approached. No idea. I think Kush is doing a sending. What happened to the murderer Sloane? He asked with a voice on the blink because of his age. A voice on the blink because of his age. Is he going through puberty? It was a young girl. I have eliminated her. Kush, I assume. What about her soul? Valm. May she come back? I will take care of her once again. It was Alb. Pleated eyebrows. Alb was about to reply, but the arrival of Valm, soaked from top to bottom, prevented him doing so. What happened? Someone asked. Good question. Valm stared at Anne Lee's corpse without answering. After a long moment, he came closer to Sloane to put a hand on his shoulder. I will never forgive them, the brother of the victim whispered. With a gloomy look, Valm acquiesced. We are lacking people, Sloane continued. This is too many characters. He turned to Alb. When will you be able to deploy the mechanical bed holes? We are encountering diverse problems, but in a close future, I think soon. Future? What a vague and troubling word. If you are lacking guinea pigs, leave it to me. We've already talked about this. This would be useless apart from restricting the number of bedalls and wasting my time. Force will not solve anything. Sloane sniggered. It's emphasized. You should say that to the mage. Alb, Valm spoke. You appeared to take pleasure with your research on the bedalls, but we are eagerly awaiting the bedalls. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's aware of this. Yeah, who are these people? It's like, it's spelled bed or holes. Anyway, I don't know if I'm saying it right. But we are eagerly awaiting their arrival. We need this reinforcement, combatants which will work as long as one of our enemies will be alive. We must protect the summoners and their Aeon cause forever. Kush was ready to cry. Every time a future was mentioned, his eyes staring at his brother's corpse, Sloane raised his voice. Let us rummage through the island. Some enemies may still be present. I assumed searching the island was what they were going for. Also, I thought Kush was the girl and Valm was the boy, and it turns out that was the other way. End of chapter 6. Chapter 7. The Celsius had landed at Besaid, at the entrance of the cove. As soon as Waka boarded, he was greeted by the noises of an argument coming from the cockpit. Brother, Riku, Pain, Buddy and Shinra were there, but Waka did not understand what they were saying. Even Riku, who usually made the effort to translate, was joining the ranting openly. The fuselage may be damaged, Pain finally explained. You can't fly anymore? That was Waka. No, we do not know the cause, even less how to repair it. If we had continued until Luca, we could have asked another Albert. Going back here was an error. They are arguing over this point. The conversation is lowbrow. Believe me. I believe that you didn't Google it. That was Pain. Waka, why did you come back? Pain, to let you know that a violent storm was coming. Waka, did you try the radio? They have a radio. The island's radio was already down, Shinra spoke, and now ours is in the same state. You couldn't say that earlier? I came to use your radio. Yuna's disappeared, Waka. Everyone kept quiet. Agape, Brother gave Waka a shocked look. I think Brother always looks shocked. Yuna? Missing? Yeah, she boarded with titties. We thought they were on the other side of the island, but... That was Waka. Brother screeched. I'm not doing that. Riku looked at the outside through the porthole. The sea is destructive, she whispered. End of chapter 7. Some of these chapters, I feel like chapter 1 went on for an hour. Right, what's this Bedol thing then? Over 1,000 years ago, a race called the Bedols lived in Spira. The Bedols created Machina. After the Yevon religion was established, the Bedols were blamed for sin's emergence. Blah 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 blah. Due to their role in the Machina War, they were executed and numbers casting them out. The surviving Bedols became known as the Albed. There you go. Proto-Albed. Now you know. Okay, I need another drink of water. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 11 chapters, so this is, I think we're about halfway, if that helps. Anyway. Let's find out together. Chapter 8. The Aurochs Ace was swinging slowly at the whim of the waves. Tiddies did not know how much time had passed since they'd abandoned the rudder. Oppressive clouds were still hiding the moon and the stars. Lying on the right side, he was daydreaming. On the other side of the table on the sofa, the white hood of the summoner was gleaming in the dark. Behind his back, the young man was hearing irregular breathing. He had turned over a few moments earlier. Yuna was lying on the side, a cheek on her folded hands, her knees pulled up to her chest. Her face was very close to Tiddy's neck. I think she's naked. Yeah, it's I've told you though, this isn't some rando that's written it. This isn't fanfiction.com. This is the scenario writer for Final Fantasy. Oh, I can't even do my own command. Anyway. Anyway, Yuna's naked. I went there. She got cheeks. Anyway, hello, Michael. Rich. There we go. I can't. Yeah. Yeah, fanfic might be better. AO3 might be better than this. Anyway. In the dark, the man had lost all notion of time. None of his friends, despite their conversations, had managed to clear up the unease which, since his return, was tormenting him. Yes, of course, we're all assuming. But a single moment by Yuna's side had sufficed to dissipate it. He was relishing his happiness, because they had sex. Anyway. However, a gloomy feeling was overwhelming him gradually. He was feeling it like a physical pain, which was tensing all his muscles and weighing on his stomach. Culpability. Una moved a little and Tiddy's closed his eyes. She's watching me. After a long moment, the young woman stood up straight and slowly and walked over Tiddy's in order not to touch him. He heard her between the bed and the table pick the clothes she had left on the floor and dress up again. Love him and leave him. The boat was pitching strongly. Tiddy's opened his eyes and catched Una's eyes. Sorry, did I wake you? I'll be right back soon. With a smile, she leaned in and kissed him. Tiddy's blushed. He decided to abandon his dark thoughts because nothing justified them. He stood up his turn and followed the white dress of Una in the gangway. He had climbed the stairs halfway when he heard the noise of a violent collision just above him. Una! He took the stairs 2 by 2. Una was grasping the rudder wheel. Firmly standing on her foot, she was looking at the outside. We can't see anything, she whispered. What was that noise? Did you bang your head? That was Tiddy's. With an embarrassed smile, she combed a strand of hair over her turned red forehead. That's not funny. You don't have to look content if you're in pain. You have the right to complain, whether the pain is physical or moral. Don't hesitate to tell me about it. I'm here for you. Okay. I came back for this reason. Very well. We won't be able to whistle anymore. Excuse me? To call each other if we're together all the time. That's right. Tiddy's came closer to Una once again. Immediately, the young woman tensed and moved back. Forgive me, but we need to talk about something. Ah. In order to hide his embarrassment, he stood in front of the window of the external little cabin. The outside was dark. Only the foam was standing out in the darkness. The elders have been asking about everything that occurred in the temple, learning that the great master Micah was unsent, that he didn't want the happiness of Spira but only to ensure the continuity of his cult, that Yevon's teachings to defeat sin were in fact a way to bring him back to life. Yeah? I've remained silent for a long time. I've not explained to them concretely my role in those events. I've not said how I defeated sin for good, how I had understood that Yevon's teachings were just a pack of lies, and that the church had become a parasite for our world. I've not often mentioned these subjects, not with most of people in any case. It would be quite the shock for the faithful. I can't remember what year this came out. I know that the timeline is after 10-2. That's it. But as I said before, if you weren't aware, they were debating whether or not to make a 10-3 game. And this is all theoretical, it's never been confirmed, but the theory was 7 and 10 were the highest selling Final Fantasy games, so they wanted to know whether to continue, to make either a 10-3 or do the 7 remake like they'd been kind of teasing. So they kind of floated this novel and the audio drama and kind of wrote these scenarios to see if they could expand that universe and continue that story, and it was met with general dislike and disdain and didn't go down very well, so they went forward with the 7 remake, if you want to believe that. But yeah, I think it's around, maybe before the 14 reboot. They just floated it to see what people thought and everyone hated it. Anyway. Yes, some people may be mad with me or even hate me. I see. Because of this, after the death of the Great Maester and the appearance of the Movement of Truth, Yevon clergy had formed New Yevon with Baralai. Oh, that's right, you don't know who Baralai is. Riku and the others have told me about him. He's very close to Nugent Gipple, right? That's right. Where was I? What are you trying to say? Tidus asked, overcome by impatience. He's not nice in this. Hey, Libro. I've kept most of these events quiet because I was worried, but the grandmothers wanted to know everything. They've begged, cried. They've accused me of egotism, remaining silent for fear of what others would think. This is vanity. They've said that if I explained it to them, they would understand, and that otherwise they wouldn't hold a grudge against me, so So, tell them. Tell them about this old crook called Micah who's keeping the machina only for himself. Tell them what this bastard called Seymour did at the time that... I've told them. It has taken some time, but I've told them everything. And then... they've listened to me without interruption. All's the better. He didn't understand where this conversation was leading them. No, that's not good. What do you mean? Just after they've asked me. Now, to whom will we be able to trust in order to guide us in our life? They can decide by themselves. They've asked me if they must forget Yevon's teachings. Of course, this was a swindle. Yuna lowered her eyes and shook her head. What? I followed Yevon's teachings too. Admittedly, it contains despicable lies, but the rest is not bad. After all, I've led a happy life, and I've met you. Yuna? She's not surely going to tell him this was a gift of Yevon, right? What's the problem with the grandmothers believing them? It's their own choice. She was using Tiddy's words against him, and it was irritating him. You may be right, he conceded. So I must go back tomorrow. Excuse me? I promised to join them in order to find a new prayer text. Why do they need you? It's my fault they've lost their faith. Don't you think you've done enough for them? That's not a reason to cross my arms and wait. Yuna? Tiddy's looked at the buckle which was hanging on the ear of the young woman. I assume her earring. It was blue with a pom-pom. Yuna didn't wear it in the cabin. When she did take the time to put it on again. When did she take the time to put it on again? Nearly. Since Tiddy's had met her, she'd always worn it, but the colour had not faded. Yes, she called him again. I am the only one who has changed, he thought. No, nothing, he answered loudly. I understand. Let's hurry to the village. We need to just find the right direction. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is weird. We haven't... Nobody's exploded... Well, somebody threw an exploding thing. But that was in the past. Don't ask. Hold on. Suddenly, he felt guilty to admit... Also, they've had sex. And now she's telling him... Never mind. Suddenly, he felt guilty to have manipulated her in such a way that she felt obligated to apologise. If he was in such a bad mood, it was not because of what she had said, but because she had refused a kiss. It's all my fault, he replied before turning his back on her in order to hide his unease. I noticed a bit earlier that we weren't very good at apologising to each other, Yuna said with a clear voice. During several weeks we travelled around Spira, climbed Mount Gagazet, fought Sin and Yevon, and then during more than 2 years we've been separate. No letter, no news. But during this time, my feelings have reinforced, and this morning I met you again, and now I know who you are and who I am. I know we can make an effort to understand each other. Hey, are you listening to me? Yes, of course. When I met you, I was 17 years old, and I've fallen madly in love with you. And now that we're together again... She was swinging, her cheeks turned red under the influence of the emotion. From now on, she continued, we'll have to face everyday life. Above all, don't be mistaken on my intentions. I still love you, and I don't want to leave you anymore. Ah? I love you too. What a relief. Yuna was going to say something else, but she gave up on it. She turned over and started to use the console sticks near the rudder. For a few seconds, we could only hear the noise of the buttons she was pushing. We may have a problem, she ended up saying. I can't use the radar. We can't establish our position. Just after they discovered the radio also did not work anymore. Yeah, it's been a day. Yeah. The Blitzball explanation has been about as brief as anything. It's not. In fact, I think the stuff that we did learn about Blitzball made it more confusing. That was the end of chapter 8. I think that's the last time that anything interesting is going to happen. Alright, chapter 9. The storm raged through the whole night in Besaid. Early morning, the depression moved away to the north, leaving the coast full of algae, brown sarcasms, and red seaweed. Stooping ahead, the villagers were crossing the beach in order to find remains thrown back from the sea. As soon as someone found one, he shouted, and Waka or someone from the Aurochs rushed to determine if the fragment came from the Ace. The objects which did not succeed the exam were gathered near the pontoon in order to be burnt. The smoke produced by the sodden wood could indicate the position of the island to Una and Tiddies. Apart from that, there was no way to communicate. The Owlbird thought that the devices had broken down at the same time because they'd been discovered at the same level in Beacon L Sands. Waka had not shared this theory with the rest of the inhabitants. He feared they would lose all trust in the Owlbird. The sex scene was fade to black. Let's just, Yeah, I mean, nothing else is gonna happen, is it? We're on chapter 9. There's 11 chapters in this. Bria had his eyes glued to the open sea. The night before, he was the last one to speak to Tiddies. It's not your fault, Waka reminded him. The storm is over. If the boat is still floating, they'll come back. If that's not the case, they'll surely find a plank to hold on, like Titanic. Tiddies is strong, and as long as they're together, Una will be okay. Bria replied with a nervous voice. You can't delude yourself. If they're in the water, their body temperature will decrease and... My illusions don't concern you? The fisherman gave a faint smile. If we knew at least how to fix this thing, Waka sighed, his eyes fixed on Celsius. We could search for them from the sky, but according to Shinra, we can't repair it. Bria snickered. What's so funny? Waka asked curtly. The situation. We are dependent on the machines. We've become more and more lazy, but are incapable of repairing them if necessary. Our sins are spreading out across Spira. You'll soon see sin returning. You talking about the Owlbird? If that's the case, you're going too far. You're not convinced that this scrap of heap must stay on the ground? Not be able to search for Una? After all, you've already tried everything. You've crossed the beach, gathered wood, and lit a fire. That's all you can do, right? If she remains lost, that's destiny. Nobody is guilty. You are not at fault. In fact, you're being prepared for receiving the worst news without feeling guilty. I can't believe you. Since you were 7, I was like a big brother. What you're saying is awful. Then move on, Waka. I know, but... What a dickhead. Distraught, the former blitzball player shook his head. Then, as if he had a bright idea, he jumped on the pontoon. We have to do more to find Una, he said, loud enough for people to hear him. Does someone have an idea? We have to fix the remaining boats as quickly as possible, an old man replied, without ceasing to work on the boat in question. The Port Killica shuttle is going to arrive soon. We could ask the captain to search for Una, one of the villagers proposed. And if he refuses, we could ask him to solicit fishermen from Port Killica. Where do we begin the search? Another voice said. The ocean is so vast. The storm has moved from the south to the north, Bria spoke, and you're all familiar with the currents of the island. You're not helpless. Waka caught his eyes and acquiesced silently before nodding with a head sign towards the ship. I know that boy with this kind of calculation. I'm going to go talk to him. Does someone own a marine map of the region? Bria asked. Letty left at the double to reach the village. As if they had only waited for this signal, the other villagers took up the search again. You're used to setting people to work. Bria turned over and found Lulu in front of him. I didn't do anything. Waka did. A lot of villagers obey him mindlessly. He's just discovered he was more popular than he thought. Lulu was observing her husband half in the water. He was starting to swim to reach the Celsius, standing on the shallows facing the beach. She nodded. It's been a month since your arrival on the island, Bria. Indeed. They're both low voices. I don't have variation. The time has come to explain to us the intentions of the Church of New Yevon which sent you here. I'm a manager. Thefts have occurred in several temples. Because of this, we've decided to check all the accounts. That's why I'm here. I will surely receive a new mission, but until then I wish to carry on taking part in the chores, and I would like to take care of the elderly. Are you concerned with your image? Lulu asked with a charming smile. Bria looked at her with a suspicious look. Do you remember your predecessor declared missing? She continued. Yes, I met him at the moment of my taking up a position. Some people affirmed to having seen him haunting the ruins path. He would have become a monster. Is that so? According to witnesses, thank you for the follow, Barbarian. According to the witnesses, he's lamenting constantly. We can especially hear him saying, Bria, 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 Bria. They must have been mistaken. Usually people who meet such creatures suffer from auditory hallucinations. Maybe, she conceded. And who would have bumped into this monster? Me. Both of them gave a faint smile. Hey! The cry was coming from the sea. Waka was standing near the Celsius. Only his head was protruding from the water. Bria waved to him. Lulu's partner raised his arms and crossed them to form an X. Then he picked up an object which was floating close to him and brandished it really high. It was a piece of wood painted in yellow. On the beach, distress overwhelmed the villagers. Everyone had recognised the fake Blitzball trophy which ornamented the bow of the ace. We're reading a story. Welcome in. We're on to chapter 10, which means I get to drink more wine. Oh, yeah. I think these chapters are going to be long. Chapter 10. This one's set in the past, so help. It was soon noon. Valm knew because of the length of the shadow he was projecting. I thought Valm was the girl. I knew Kush was the girl. The pronouns are not helpful. Standing on the air duct, he was taking advantage of this privileged place to contemplate the gathering of his comrades. There were 95 to 63 and 32 women. 16-year-olds for the youngest is 16-year-old for the youngest, 25 for the oldest. Valm was 23. Look at them, Sloane pointed out. Who was the eldest? They're so harsh. I like it. That's right, but what about breakfast? For the second time in the space of a few minutes, Valm's stomach pointed himself out loudly to him. He'd not eaten anything since the explosion the night before. Could you really swallow something? Sloane whispered. Valm remembered that the man had just said goodbye to his little brother and lowered his eyes. Sorry. With a curt smile, his friend gave him a tap on his shoulder. You really have no shame. Go eat discreetly and come back when you'll be done. On these words, Sloane joined the guard's circle in order to thank them for all their gestures of solicitude and their pledges of revenge he had received during the obsequies of his brother. He kept his head stooped for a long moment, but when he stood up straight, his attitude had completely changed. We can't afford to lose more summoners from now on. There's only 2. What will we do if we can't protect them? Originally, there were 5 on the island. 6 months later, the guards had lost Mika, Canalia, and this morning, Anne Lee. Now there was only Kush and Ifano? Baval was continuing to produce mechanical weapons, and the city appeared to have reached new heights in terms of technical prowess. Armoured units and heavy infantry corps were moving towards Zanakan, destroying everything on their path. Day after day, the guards were receiving news about the spectacular progression, but the worst fear of the mages from Zanakan, father and daughter, was not the ingenuity of a worker clan. They were dreading above all people who possessed the same capacities as them, summoners. They were sending murderer after murderer to the island. To this day, 28 guards had been killed during the skirmishes. We're going to form 2 squads, Sloane announced. Line up by 10. The order was carried out immediately. Lines 1 to 8, search section, under my command. Cat, form the units. The concerned one who was standing in the front line stuck out her chest. Yes, sir, she answered, really loudly. Lines 9 and 10, Sloane continued. You guard the base, and when you meet the 10 comrades left on the site, you will be under Valm's orders. Your priority is to protect the summoners. Go. All right, Valm whispered. He jumped from his vantage point and came closer to his men. We're going to return to the base immediately. Be careful along the way. Kill the enemy as soon as you see them, woman or child. I don't care. No hesitation. We mustn't repeat the errors of the past. Yes, sir, the 15 guards answered all together. One day, a young boy had washed up on the island. Thinking he was a refugee, the men had brought him into their refectory. There, the child had detonated himself. The summoner Mika had met his death in this attack. Valm and his comrades have had to gather Mika's remains, dispersed by the bombs. It is very, like, prequel trilogy Star Wars. When Valm remembered the scenery, he felt the anger building inside of him, and could not help himself to appeal to the divinity of vengeance. He used the violence of this feeling to dissimulate his relief. Mika was preferable to Kush. Ooh. Back in the base, he sent a subaltern, picking up a portion for himself. He devoured it while patrolling around the gate number 0. In accordance with what will happen, he may be closing it off. He commanded the young Gecko and Romance to arrange visiospheres around the gates numbers 1 to 5. Protected with enormous building stones, the gate number 0 was not afraid of bombs. In order to hide the ensemble, an assembly of steel tubes was supporting an artificial vegetation. From a faraway point, the place looked like a forest plot. You had to pass under the scaffolding to reach the gate. The other exits opened in many places in the island, and at the ends, extremities of the underground air ducts. From the outside, they took different shapes in order to blend into the landscape, but from inside, all of them had the same structure. The ventilator, controlled from the control room, carried out the primary function of the pipe, but with his sharp blades, it prevents also intrusion. When a guard had to pass, a control panel allowed it to stop the helix thanks to a secret code modified every day. Very James Bond. Valm passed the gate of number 0 and entered the stateroom. The round room was big enough to receive the whole personnel of the island, with the exception of the Bedels. The stone statues representing the divinities lined up against the wall. Their vacant looks converged at the centre of the room on the altar. The room hosted both ceremonies like baptisms or marriages and business meetings. Behind the altar, long stairs led to the inner gate, number 0, and the living area. The exit numbers 1 and 2 were located under the steps. It is not turn-based combat. Valm started to go up. At the same time, the gate number 1 opened, revealing a passage for Kush. This hall had led to the armory, to the workshop of the Bedels, workers to the dormitory. Even lower should be located the machineries at the base. What could she be doing in such a mucky place? She had the right to go there, but when Valm opened his mouth to call Kush, a hand grabbed the young woman by the wrist and pulled her violently. Valm rushed immediately to Kush, but was already reappearing from behind the door with an energizing gesture. She was rubbing her lips with her right glove. She ceased as soon as she noticed Valm's presence. "Is everything okay?" the guard asked. She avoided his eyes and did not answer. At that time, Valm saw the person who had grasped the young woman. Ifano. The young 18-year-old summoner, 1 year younger than Kush. His massive figure was not due to fighting or working, but to bodybuilding. He liked to put it on display with skin-tight clothes. His face was rather ordinary, those you forget right away, but he's got a massive bod. He must be conscious of it. His muscle structure, his getup, and the red dye used to colour his hair represented as many attempts to rectify this problem, but these efforts only brought him to the contempt of the guards. Even the name he chose, Ifano, divinity of beauty, sparked off criticisms and mockeries. The summoner did not inspire respect at all. Valm often thought that it would have been to the boy's advantage to show himself as more down to earth. But he was a part of the most important persons inside the base. Almost 100 guards had sworn to protect him at the risk of their lives. What else may he want? What Valm had just come upon shed a new light on Fanol's behaviour. He could not care less about the respect of the guards, only the interest of the young woman was important for him. Smoochy, smoochy. Seemingly he had not obtained it yet, and Valm would make sure that it remains like this. "Is there something wrong?" he asked. "The situation is serious, and we don't have time for quarrels. If you have a problem, you must settle it as quickly as possible." Ifano ignored the question. "The mechanical Bedel is ready." It was plainly a way to change the subject and avoid conflict, but Valm could not ignore the news. "Great!" Ifano smiled. "He's memorized my voice. Do you want me to call it? Armored Bedel, get out here!" The boy seemed as proud as if he himself had created the false Bedel. As for Kush, she had placed herself behind Valm, as if hiding, as if staying as far away as possible from Ifano. The Bedel appeared. It was as tall as Kush, dressed with dark yellow cotton. His head was covered with a hood, and his face was dissimulated behind glasses and a gas mask. At first glance, he appeared not to be able to fight and vanquish their enemies. "Is that?" "It is," Alb replied. The old man had climbed the stairs behind the creation. "It's not perfect yet, but..." Contrary to what his words were suggesting, Alb was radiating proud. Of the corner of his eye, Valm saw Ifano slipping away, a smile on his face. The guard decided to focus on the false Bedel. It would have a little discussion. He would have a little discussion with the summoner later. It doesn't seem really robust. Can it fight? Valm brandished his saber and Bedel cringed. Do you understand what I'm saying? The machine nodded slowly. In accordance with the specifications, Alb precised, who was sticking out his chest. In this case, unsheath, Valm ordered. The creature brought out a whip and twirled it. The end of the string was drawing a confusing outline. The Bedel was not able to do battle. Valm supposed the little verbal dispute which occurred this morning had incited him to unveil his work before its completion. He does not understand, the guard thought with the bitterness. We do not want it to obey us for the pleasure to see it give in. We need an effective weapon. All of this is absurd, he declared. With one blow of his saber he cut off the hand which was holding the whip. Blood gushed from the maimed member. Alb grasped the Bedel by the elbow and pulled it. I'm bringing it back to the workshop, he apologised. The final model will use a firearm. Chains and whips are problematic. You need to deal with the space around you in order to use them. He'll never reach the required level of precision to aim correctly. I'd prefer that it use throwing weapons. As for blood, is it compulsory? A scarlet blood puddle had formed on the ground, a ruse to deceive the enemy. Yourself wondered if it was alive, right? How many units can you produce? 50 units in the next 3 days, maybe more. Valm was pleasantly surprised by the answer. We haven't hung around at the workshop, Alb added with a provocative tone. He seemed offended. Call them worker Bedels and remove the blood or change its colour, else the enemy won't be the only one deceived. I don't want ours to think that a comrade is hurt and take unnecessary risks. From far away they must look humans. Closely, the illusion is superfluous. Valm was realising that the ultimate soldier whom he had hoped so much for was just a dream. For the moment he would be bound to content himself with a pseudo-Bedel with too realistic blood. Tell us what's happening outside, Valm. Kush spoke. Is the enemy here? I think that's the case, but Sloane and his men will seek and destroy it to do justice to his brother, and he'll do his name the honour. Sloane was the god of vengeance. Then we are safe? I think that's Kush. For the time being, yes. I would prefer that you hide in an individual refuge. Send word to Ifanel. No, I'm going to tell him that myself. That was all Valm. They climbed the stairs in an embarrassed silence to the inner gate number 0 and the living area. Has something happened with Ifanel? Valm asked the young woman. Yes, but nothing which could bother you. I will settle the problem with him. I wonder about how to react after having lost so many summoners. The best would be to send us people to replace them, but do you think that will happen? That was Kush. A ship must come to supply them 7 days later, but even if transported personnel to ensure its safety, Valm did not think that they would agree to stay on the island. After all, their line management, already aware of the situation, had not announced anything. Reinforcements? I don't think so. According to the rumour, more and more people hide their summoner gift. They will go to hell, she declared lightly. He understood that she wanted to change the subject. Say, Valm, what would happen if someone sent us a new female summoner? Gentle, sensual, with a beautiful bosom. She wouldn't fail to find voluntaries to come to her Aeon cause, to become her Aeon cause. Aeon cause of faiths, okay. Men are so simple, Kush answered with a theatrical sigh. Kush was the goddess of abundance with her slender figure. The woman who had taken her name on was just like Ifanel and his personal aesthetic, often victim of mockeries. You're right, Valm answered, and thanks to you, you'll remain mine. I'm getting so hot. Can't wait for this to be over. Right. That was the end of chapter 10. Talking about boobies. This is allegedly... Hang on. Oh no, there's chapter 12. Hang on. There's 13 chapters. Oh my god, I thought it was on the last chapter. I still don't know how they're going to wrap it up. Okay. Chapter 11. 3 more chapters to go. Let's survive this, guys. I cannot handle this anymore. In the middle of the night, the ace was pitched so strongly that Tiddy's and Yuna's were trying so... You don't even know what to say. No, Kush is still alive. Whatever, that bomb that hit the tower that Valm and Kush were in didn't kill them. But yeah. Everyone likes a sexy summoner lady. Right. In the middle of the night, the ace was pitched so strongly that Titties and Una were trying so hard to keep their balance. The two young people had torn the bed linen to make a rope and tie up to each other. Kinky. Standing close to the rudder, Titties was trying to look outside in vain. Secured by Una, he ventured on the upper deck. His face lashed by the rain, he screwed up his eyes without succeeding in piercing the darkness. He felt tightness on the rope coiled around him and turned over. Una wanted him to come back. I couldn't see anything, he explained when he came closer to her. He was dripping with seawater. We'll have to wait for the storm to subside, she answered. In a few hours the sun will rise, and then we'll be able to find our bearings, and... She grimaced. Finding the north was one thing, returning to Besaid was another. And maybe we'll see the island, she finished. Don't worry. Moreover, our friends will search for us. From the sky, the gullwings will find us in no time at all. You seem rather composed, Titties noted. I may not look like much, but I've grown up on an island, and also experienced a lot of scary adventures. You're already talking like an old woman, Titties declared with a disparaging tone, while showing an amused face. The horror! She gave... Oh no, he's saying the horror, I don't know. She gave a sulky pout. A few moments later, they caught each other's eye and they exchanged a smile. I think everything will be okay, Una repeated. Despite all of our problems? Ooh, that's... yeah. Suddenly, the ship plunged between two waves. Titties felt his stomach turning, whereas Una closed her eyes. The young man executed a step towards her, but at this moment the hull of the Ace split open with an almost human whine. Losing his balance, Titties hurt his head against the rudder. Why do people keep getting head wounds? He smelt gunpowder and fainted. When he opened his eyes, the sun had risen. No more breaths of wind, no more clouds, and no more ships too. From the Ace, only a plank remained, barely large enough to support the weight of one person, on which was resting Titties. Stay where you are. Don't move, a voice whispered. Oh, that was Una. Una was just behind him. In the water up to her shoulders, she was turning her back on him. A monster was facing her. The beast looked like a turtle, but it was enormous. Its head and the biggest part of its shell protruded out of the surface. Glassy-eyed, it was releasing a light smell of rot. Una! Una turned over and he discovered her distressed look, her sunk and ringed eyes. Since when has she been protecting me? The monster did not move, and Titties wondered if Una had managed to calm it. Then he saw a stick, no, a trident, broken, driven in the neck of the monster. He imagined the battle that Una had had to fight against the beast, whereas he himself was just baggage in the way. I'm sorry, he whispered. His partner expressed a weak smile and leaned her head and closed her eyes. Una! The summoner sank slowly into the water, as if following her. The monster plunged his head under the surface. Titties sat up straight on his fragile plank, balancing carefully. Then he pulled on the rope, still coiled around his waist. Straight after Una reappeared above the waves, as fast as possible, he pulled the young woman near him, still followed by the monster, before holding her under her arms and hauling her up beside him. But their refuge was precarious, and the beast was still there, very close. Titties noted the vacant look, the shining fangs, the red tongue hiding behind. In his arms he felt Una's body, so delicate that he feared to break it. This sensation reminded him of a happy event which occurred 2 years ago, their first kiss at Lake Macalania. The young woman he was holding against him was the same person he had kissed in the middle of the lake. This memory awoke inside him a powerful emotion. I'll never forgive you, Titties shouted. Who was he speaking to? The monster? Himself? He did not know it all. I'll protect her at all costs. He stood up straight with caution and tried to untie the rope which was connecting them. While Titties was struggling with the soaked fabric, the monster came nearer again and managed to put its chin on the plank. At that rate, the two young people would topple soon into the water. Abandoning the knot, the Titties leaped on the back of the beast. On all fours on the shell, he turned over the nape of the neck of the monster. He snatched half the trident which Una had used to put the monster in isolation. He raised it sky high and drove it with all his strength into the top of the head of the monster, where the weapon disappeared completely. Immediately, the chin of the turtle slid from the plank and fell into the water. The monster ceased to move. A foul smell going along with the repugnant liquid was escaping away from the wound. We must escape, Titties thought, while seeing the gloomy humour spreading through the water. The humour being the liquid blood ship. At this moment, a new animal broke the surface, a shark with a body covered with reptile scales. He leapt above the couple and disappeared at the other side of the carcass of the giant turtle. Titties heard a high-pitched whistling. It's a calling for its fellow creatures. As if confirming this intuition, several creatures came from the same species and they emerged and converged towards the head of the dead monster, which they started to devour. Standing on the back of the victim, Titties was attending the feast as mesmerized. He knew that he had to keep Una away from this macabre banquet as quickly as possible, but found it more careful to not approach the water. Were they constrained to stay here? To make or break. He recovered the trident from the head of the turtle and went back to the plank where he had left Una still unconscious. He coiled the rope around her waist, the one he had not managed to get rid of. He had to carry the young woman on his back, which turned out more difficult than planned on their makeshift raft. Titties wondered suddenly if it would not have been better to stay on the half-devoured carcass. Carefully, he came close to the water's edge and took a deep breath. Concentrating all his energy in his legs, he leapt once again, but this time he was holding Una. He'd wrongly estimated the weight difference. Instead of reaching the turtle, he fell in the water, because he's a divvy. He immediately felt pulled down, and it took him a few seconds to understand what was happening. Then he remembered the rope which was still connecting him with Una. It had coiled itself around one of the squalls, which was having in tow the two young people under the water from now on. The animal in question suddenly cornered a long moment in order to return to the carcass of the turtle. He seized the opportunity to let himself sink. He hoped that Una would come to the surface. Without paying attention to its unwitting passengers, the squall started again at its lunge. Squall, what are you doing? Titties skirted it, praying its fellow creatures to not notice him. He caught Una and dragged her away with him in the open air. Then he coiled the rope around the dorsal fin of the squall. The first step of his plan was a success. From now on, he had to climb on the back of the animal. How will the creature react to this? Titties did not know enough about this species to predict it. He had to struggle to mount the squall. The beast struggled, but probably too focused on its lunge, it did not attack its tamer. The young man grabbed onto the dorsal fin, which was splitting the sea surface to keep his posture. He had to install Una. He pulled the rope to take her to him. Despite all his efforts, he did not manage to wedge her on the back of the shark. She had to cling herself to the animal. Una, are you hearing me? Una, I'm going to get the upper hand over this. Don't worry, but I need you to wake up. At this moment, another shark suddenly arose from the waves, very close to the young woman, and leapt above them after a long whistling. With a flash of inspiration, the young man raised 2 fingers to his mouth and answered it in the same tone. The tone was so strong that Una woke with a start. Titties, where have you been? I'm just here, right beside you. She raised her head and saw him. What happened? Monsters are turning around us and I'm trying hard to control our mount. Don't worry, it's just a matter of time. There's no way we'll end up as shark snacks. With a deep sigh, Una acquiesced. Once replete, the squall moved away from the carcass, swimming quietly just under the surface. I wonder where it's taking us. I would like it to go over there, Una answered. She was showing a point on the horizon. Teddy screwed up his eyes. It's Besaid? I'm not sure, but any island will always be better than the back of a shark. We're drawing away from it, Teddy's noticed, and quickly. The squall was 3 times bigger than the young man, and the weight of its passengers did not appear to slow it. Hey! The young man shouted. Of course the animal did not answer. Well, I think we don't have a choice. Titties moved the trident in his left hand and jabbed the head of their mount on what appeared to be one of its cheeks. And don't you dare plunge! He averted it. If the shark sank too much under the surface, Titties would have to goad it under the stomach. The young man loathed to spread blood through the water one more time. Furthermore, he would have to go down by the animal's side, which had already reached a considerable speed. If they reached too important depths, pressure would add to their other difficulties. I'm reading this word for word. I know it doesn't make sense. A long shiver spread along the body of, I think, squallish shark, which ended up obeying to the order of its tamer and cornered on the right in direction of the island. Forgive us, Una declared. Titties was not feeling guilty at all. Sharks know only one rule, to devour or be devoured. It was the same for all beings in Spira, and the young man was just implementing this essential rule to survive in a merciless world. He had to be severe towards every being who threatened him. Spira's inhabitants were subjected to more than hard living situations. In this situation, Una was, without a doubt, a treasure. Who else would have asked for an animal's forgiveness? He turned over towards his partner. She was lying flat on her stomach on the back of the shark, around which she had put her arms and her legs. He remembered the day when the young woman had summoned her first Aeon Valafor. At the time, he did not know if he dealt with a wild beast or a monster, but he had understood that if Una was able to control so powerful a being, he could not live a normal story by her side. Suddenly, a new thought appeared in his mind and warmed his heart. He knew about the normal side of the summoner better than anyone else. A lot of people were familiar with her public image, those of a young woman, serious, stubborn, inflexible too. But I understand her like nobody else. That's Una thought. What are you thinking about? Una asked. Why do you ask? You're smiling. Really? No, it must be the fatigue which is contracting the muscles of my face. He turned towards their destination. Now the island was close enough to make out the hill which was standing at the centre and the greenery which was covering everything. Besaid or not, they would find food and water. He let out a little laugh. What? Nothing. You secretive little thing. She laughed in her turn, softly. Okay. So there was a bit where they were in the water with a stomach. How are they going to tire this up? I'm so close. I'm so close. Yeah, it was just them. Yeah. That was chapter 11 out of 13. Fucking hell. They fought a big turtle and then they rode a shark to the beach. Let's find out what's going to happen to these guys. Sloane and his dupes flushed 4 murderers out. They slaughtered the first 3 but caught the last one to question him and took him to the east side of the island. On the beach, Sloane and about 20 of his subordinates were surrounding the prisoner buried in the sand up to his neck. Okay, I like that. Kill me, let's get this over with, the enemy declared. Young, he was quavering. All the agents of the mage reacted the same way. When the murderer had understood only death was awaiting him, he refused to answer questions and persisted in demanding to kill him. Sloane knew he would not squeeze anything out of this man. The guard could not leave his post without receiving the associated order. A long wait was promised. Since they'd settled on the island, they'd led their battle in a passive way. For Sloane, who had dedicated his sabre to the goddess of war and had taken the name of the god of vengeance, this situation was frustrating. Until now, he had suffered in silence while waiting for his brother to bind to his first, I'm going to say faith instead of Aeon core. But Anley was dead, and Sloane hated his younger, smoother talker but indecisive, as strong as he loved him. When he had learnt that Anley possessed the gift, he felt so proud. Now that he is not here anymore, who should I protect? The summoner at the head of Bevel had declared the mage of Zanarkand his daughter and their supporters heretics, but it had not excommunicated them. I'm assuming that's Unaleska. Morning, empty banger. We're reading the novel. Help me. Why? According to the rumours, Bevel needed the charisma of the 2 mages to win the war and wanted to use them until the end. They had led Zanarkand to abandon the technological weapons which would make the victory easier for Bevel. Sloane thought the reasoning was twisted. We could not spare those who were renouncing the gods. They had to be eliminated as quickly as possible. That was the goal of the elite units stationed on this island, but the mages had understood that the plan of their enemy was sending to it brainwashed murderers. Is my government manipulating me to do the same thing to it? I don't know. Sloane thought suddenly. Even the children knew that the gods were imaginary, yet anyone could picture them. The common illusion tightened the links to the extent that the men were ready to give their life for it. Yes, this is brainwashing. Do we begin the questioning? Cass spoke. He won't answer us, Sloane replied before reconsidering. Did you meet the sorceress? He asked. People say that she's an incomparable beauty. Is that right? The prisoner remained silent, his eyes lost in the distance. He gave a faint smile. I think they're talking about Unalaska. You're nothing to her, you know that? She's just making use of you and your comrades before leaving you. Nobody will come to save you. For an instant, the prisoner raised his eyes to heaven. Will reinforcements come from the sky? Sloane was not seeing anything, but he knew that the flying devices had joined the ranks of the combatants. This kind of weapon was going to turn the tide, he was sure of that. Kill me, the man repeated. I see, the tide is rising. Your head will soon remain under the waves. You won't be the first one to try and breathe underwater, but nobody managed to do it. Do you think you'll succeed where the others failed? You're a monster. One of your comrades has killed my little brother. Of course you didn't do it yourself, but you could have. The problem you see is that you've come here to kill him, so you won't get off so lightly. You'll die, but slowly. You'll leave this world while cursing it and feeling pain. After that, do me a pleasure, turn into a monster and come back to me. The next time I'll tear you into pieces and I'll throw them in the fire. Sloane had not finished talking, yet the man burst out laughing. A soldier moved forward to silence him, but the captive had suddenly become silent again. He was staring at the sky. Everybody did the same. An unknown noise was approaching. A light whistling replied from the sand. That was the prisoner. A ship appeared to be flying over the opposite coast of the island. Then he appeared at the top of the mountain just above the Lucera statue. That was the first time Sloane was seeing an aircraft. He discovered a triangular airship, a very noisy and slow one. Arriving above the beach, the machine turned itself on and started its descent. Sloane and his comrades all moved away in haste in order to shelter under vegetation. When the officer took a look behind him, he saw that part of the shell under the aircraft had opened. A battalion was already shimmying down a set of thick ropes. His weapon in hand, Sloane turned around and rushed towards the beach. On the back of each enemy, he was making out a bag made of strings containing a ball, a bomb like the one Valm had described. 15 to 20 infantrymen were rappelling down. The first one put a foot on the beach and without taking a break fired intensively on the buried captive. Sloane saw the head of the murderer tipping over. Oh, he did. The prisoner behaved bravely, like a great soldier. If they had fought in the same camp, they would have got along well. And yet, he did not finish his sentence. His men were looking at him, waiting for an order. The last time I checked, the life was of better worth than that, he said with a bitter laugh. He immediately became serious. Return to the base, make a report to Valm, then place yourself under his orders. Cat will ensure the command of the group there. Until there. Then Sloane pointed his saber in the direction of the enemy with a wild howl. After my death, let Valm take over the name of Sloane. What? He has always been more worthy of this name than me. Nobody returned to the base. The aircraft had spread enemies everywhere in the island. Exhausted, the young woman knew that she would meet her death very soon, but did not fear it. She's been waiting for this moment since the demise of the one who had counted so much to her, Canela. Despite her gift of a summoner, she was killed 6 months earlier without having completed anything, and now that she was no more, what were the chances for Kat to have the honour to become a Faith? Kush would have chosen Valm, and the guard would produce an impressive creature. Who would Ifanel have his heart set on? He was apparently in love with Kush, but the young woman rejected his advances. Anyway, Kat doubted that a summoner could become a Faith. It would be a huge waste. In that case, there was still a place to take. Yet, even if Ifanel chose Kat, the young woman doubted that they could reach a genuine soul bond. She'd heard say that summoner and Faith must have a powerful mutual feeling in order for the ceremony to be fruitful. With Canela, everything would have been easy, but Ifanel, offering his life to the promised one was one thing. To sacrifice itself for a stranger only for a pride desire was much more difficult. How she was regretting Canela's death. A set of close explosions pulled her from the thoughts. They're launching an attack, she thought. If the massive aircraft was full of soldiers, the guards had no chance of survival. Kat stood up straight. She would never be a Faith, but she could still be the armed arm of vengeance. Oh, Sloane, give me the strength to lay low our enemies. She gave herself courage. She remembered her happy days when Canela was by her side. She snaked in and out of trees until she reached a hilltop. From there she could see the entrance of the base. Beside the dented gate number 3, Kat recognized the cadavers Gecko and Romand. Her comrades were not dead in vain. They had dragged several enemies into the far plain. A familiar sword jutted out of the body of one of them, a beautiful young man. Kat held back a cry and hurried to gate number 0. She discovered a gaping breach and a smell of blood assailed her immediately. At the same time, an object struck her back. She turned around. The forest appeared to be wilderness, but a ball was rolling slowly towards her foot. She heard a click, and then the ball started to dilate. That was the last picture that Kat saw before being thrust out by the scorching blast of air. Will I flower in the beyond world? Valm was searching for Kush. A few hours earlier in the stateroom was like a countryside hospital, but since the enemy had broken through their defense, it was more like a battlefield. The smell of death was unbearable. Yeah, rip. The souls were fluttering above the mass grave in which they were spreading a pasty glow. An explosion resounded outside and a voice shouted the name of Kat. Just after, another one announced the death of the young woman. Nobody had taken the time to take care of the wounded persons. Although the guards were an elite unit, their equipment was outdated. They could not stand up to Xanakin's troops and to their constant technological progress. Despite everything, the time has come we are more united than ever. He was going to become a faith. It was the only way to turn the situation around. The stairs which led to the living quarters were partially collapsed and scorched. Another bomb, Valm supposed. He stepped over the cadavers of the men he was responsible for and sent a prayer to the god of the far plane, to take care of them. And when he reached the stairs, he turned around in order to behold the room. Ashamed of the relief he felt when he was certain that Kush's body was not among the cadavers, he started to climb the stairs again. 3 enemies burst into the living room. At the same time, the gate number 1 delivered passage to the troubling or comical procession of the mechanical bedels wearing their 2 big suits and their gas masks. They went into the room slowly while swirling their trains. The enemy opened fire. Alb had demanded 3 more days to complete his project after 3 years of research. Valm was wondering what 3 days could have changed. The old man appeared suddenly behind his creations. He appeared to be on his last legs. Valm, I'm leaving the workshop. Sorry. The guard acquiesced brusquely. Come back here, Alb ordered the bedels while handing a signal. No, Valm said. They must fight. They would only get under your feet. A new explosion announced the arrival of other enemies. Alb and his bedels were heading towards the emergency exit, and Valm started to climb again. Just before crossing the inner gate, he turned around one last time. The living room was presenting a macabre scene where they were merging flowers of the altar, the blood and the cadavers, and the funeral light of the drifting souls. You're running away, coward! A young man, a sabre in hand, rushed towards Valm. He surely wanted to conserve his ammunition, which was going to make the battle more balanced. Valm went down to meet him. Bring it on, son of a heretic, the guard spat out. He received the enemy with a large arc of his sabre and felt the weapon cutting into the side of his target as far as the navel. He made sure with a glimpse of the inflicted damage, then turned around and walked away towards the gate number 0. The ripped open man toppled into the void. Valm hurried. It should not take a lot of time before the soul of his victim turned into a monster, he thought, just before hearing the death throes cry resonating at the floor below. I think he just sliced him in half. Some mechanical bedels were lying on the ground covered with blood. Val thought of the workers who must remain in the workshop. He never regarded the bedels as human, but now he had pity on them. What happened next made him understand. He saw the mechanical bedels gathering around their injured comrades, helping them to stand up straight. They are humans, he understood suddenly. Alb had never managed to create artificial combatants. He had made use of the bedels to ensure his own escape. With a tightened jaw, Valm went downstairs slowly. Sorry, this is a line break. Are we just was Alb just putting humans in robot suits and saying, hey look, I made a robot? Also, yes, drowning people on a beach, like the way that they were doing that in Spira, where it's quite common that people know how to hold their breaths for extensive periods of time, is odd. Alb, he yelled. The old man had disappeared. Several false mechanical bedels, disguised persons not to lure the enemy but their allies, raised their eyes in the direction of the guard. Say to Alb he can run away wherever he wants. I'll find him and I'll make him pay for his treason. The fuck is the storyline? To align in front of the enemy mechanical soldiers which would go fight in the place of humans. Here is the utopia which had ever supported him until now. Despite the fact he was a soldier, he dreamt of a world where he would not have to fight. None should ever discover this secret desire. The hands moved apart as an apologetic gesture. The Bedels answered with their own disgusting language. Be quiet. Valm intimidated them, exasperated in how they were informally talking to him. The memory of Kush going back up from the workshop through gate number 1 imposed on his mind. What could she do over there? They're in the living quarters, Valm. Suddenly, back to the present, he raised his eyes. One of his men had popped his head covered with blood around the inner gate number 0. The summoners hurry, he continued before falling to the ground. Kush! The living quarters were similar to a labyrinth of corridors which led to bedrooms. This was the most protected place of the base. How could the enemy have access to it? Alb! According to Valm, only Alb could have led them as far as there. Blinded by rage towards Kush's bedroom. He headed towards Kush's bedroom. So Alb has let them all in? Traitor. A long-haired enemy, probably a woman, was progressing towards the end of the quarters while leaning on the wall. She appeared to be injured. Valm slipped behind her, put the point of his saber on the neck of the enemy and pressed. He felt his spinal cord yielding to his sword, and then he trampled the cadaver and kicked her in the ribs. A very cruel act. He was completely aware of it. The battles were applying their influence on him. The wrath and the resentment of the slain was spreading along their souls. Protect me, Lucera, Valm exclaimed while setting forth in the corridor at the double. The height of the battle, only one who retained his composure could hope to survive, and he had to remind himself when he would meet Kush, he had to be Valm, the guard she was admiring and loving, not the murderous psychopath that he is. It's alright, this bit. It took a while. The quarters of the summoners were located in the core of the labyrinth. 10 doors opened onto their corridor. Kush's one had the number 3. Arrived in the front of the bedroom, the young woman, he froze. Since he had walked into Kush in a flannel back there, the situation had deteriorated. May I talk to you? She'd asked. Later, my men are fighting. Really? Stop right now, this is not the time. Valm gritted his teeth and hit his head against the door. Any fortress could fall if his commander had his mind filled with a woman. No need for a traitor for that. Give me a chance to redeem myself. He hit the panel of the door 3 times, according to the agreed pace. The dial lit up. On the other side of the partition, a bell must ring out, but nobody reacted to it. The enemy had not reached this place yet, however the smell of death was already present. A metallic combination of gunpowder and blood, with a sweet touch left by souls. Kush! He hit the board again, only 1 time. The door did not move, nobody replied. Valm passed by the doors 4 and 5 and stopped before number 6, Ifanol's bedroom. He knocked on the door and waited, and then a ball rolled towards his feet. A bomb! His first reflex was to send it back with a kick, but he feared that the impact would activate it. He jumped backwards and ran for his life. After the door number 10, the corridor formed an elbow to the right. Valm had barely had time to turn to pin it against the wall. The racket of the explosion did not suffice to drown out the surprised scream of Ifanol. He had opened the door 1 second before the detonation. Valm swore and left his hideout. The enemy was standing on the other end of the corridor, close to the door number 1, and was progressing towards him. His saber in hand, Valm rushed towards the enemy, and when he passed by door number 6, he shouted, "Close it!" He was facing 3 combatants, which were moving in single file. The corridor narrow was slowing the progression of the invaders. The head man, a brown-haired teenager, fired a shot. Valm immediately dove in order to avoid the bullet and rolled and stood up straight. His run up led the point of his saber against the throat of his opponent. He sliced it without hesitation. The 2 comrades of the dead one were even younger and not really determined. Valm, covered with sweat and blood, read fear in their eyes. The second in the line froze, and his comrade bumped into him. Both of them lost their balance. Valm squatted, took the weapon of the dead, and fired. The bullet got through its target and also hit the last enemy. The 2 combatants fell down. One where he was standing this instant, the other several steps further. I can't manage to close the door, it's broken. In a panic, Ifanol hurtled into the corridor. The scenery he discovered made him grimace. Evacuate! The summoner did not move. Where is Kush? Valm asked. She doesn't reply when I knock on her door. Ifanol stole a glance at his own bedroom and then awkwardly stroked his chin before inviting the guard to follow him. Oh shit. The room was square and not lovely. Its walls had been left bare. The occupant of the room appeared to be less preoccupied by the decor than his look. She's in the back, but be careful. To be honest, I need to talk to you before. Valm saw the four-poster bed hidden with a screen and hurried to it. Kush! He moved the screen aside with a kick and discovered the young woman half naked and asleep. Valm, wait. Ifanel spoke. I only know this method. There exist other ones, but I've not been taught to use them. The guard turned round and sent his fist into the face of the summoner, who fell to the ground, and then he caught hold of Kush's shoulders in order to shake her. She opened her eyes part way and smiled frailly. What happened to you? She did not answer. He tried to have her sit down and noticed her glassy look. What the... Kush? Valm! Ifanel shouted. The concerned one turned over and discovered that the enemy had gotten into the bedroom. An enemy he had thought he had to have been eliminated. The attacker brandished his sabre above his head. Valm was unarmed, and if he parried the blow there was a good chance that the sword would hit Kush. He took his decision and bent his knees. He had the intention of bumping into his assailant, but he did not have the time to do it. He saw the head of the man toppling in a blood geyser and rolling on the ground. The body hit Valm before falling down. In the frame of the door, a mechanical beddle rewound the rope he had just used, apparently proud of itself. Ifanel stood up straight and spoke to Beddle. He was talking to it in the disgusting language of the creature, and then both of them skirted Valm in shock to get closer to Kush. They stood up, the summoner, and had her sit down. She appeared to be still spaced out. When Beddle slapped her, Valm wanted to go for the throat of the impudent one, but Ifanel grabbed the waist of the guard and held him back with all his strength. After a second slap, Kush opened her eyes, and the Beddle took off its glasses and mask, revealing a hirsute head. Vaguely familiar. He was a part of those who always support the palanquin of the young woman. He said something to Valm's utter astonishment. Kush answered him, but she did not do anything to cover her bare body, and did not have a single glance for her paramour. I am the only one who does not understand what's happening. He felt his strength leaving him, but a dark feeling possessing his own train of thought was starting to bubble up inside of his heart. Oh, Sloane, who should I kill first? He tried to convince himself that the battle was ruining his mind without great success. Finally, Kush turned towards him. He read astonishment and then confusion on her face. She hastily wrapped her chest and smiled perfunctorily. End of chapter 12. Holy fucking shirt balls. Are you ready for the final chapter? Let's fucking go. Kush was Neki. She's a summoner. I think my first instinct was a fair. My second instinct was that they were trying to turn her into a faith. Yeah. Go figure. Also, Valm had a really high body count there. It's very impressive. Murderous man. Okay. Final chapter. Oh God, help me. The island was still far away, and even Tiddy's was not sure if they could reach the coastline. Their shark had run out of strength. It was floating on its back, stomach facing the sun. Tiddy's and Una were holding a pectoral fin and were talking to each other above the monster. The fireflies which were escaping from the corpse were skimming Tiddy's before being carried away by the wind. The scavengers should be here soon to devour it, Una presaged while chattering. We must move away. The air was sweet, but the two of them had already spent too much time in the water. They were frozen and exhausted. Tiddy's acquiesced and firmed his grip on the fin. He pulled up his knees to his chest and pressed his soul against the side of the shark. Let's go. After a deep breath, he pressed on his legs and let go. He jumped backwards and then started to swim towards the island. When he turned over Una, he saw her talking to the cadaver of the shark. Tiddy's whistled and waved to the young woman so that she joined him. She nodded and said farewell to their mount. He watched her coming closer, swimming the breaststroke, and then they headed towards the island. The water was still deep. He was gazing at the progression of Una, who was moving on her back as of now. She was keeping a regular pace. She breathed out on 2 phases, and then at the third one she stretched her arm backwards and breathed in deeply. He hoped that she could keep up like this much longer. If he had come to her assistance, he wanted to keep his energy up until the last minute. Keep going, Una! He talked to her when she breathed in order not to distract her. Thank you. She smiled at him, lost the pace of her breathing and swallowed water. She started to cough and spit out the water, and Tiddy stretched out his hand to her. She was more tired than he had thought. Sorry, I shouldn't have disrupted you. She was now standing plumb, but was struggling to keep afloat. He placed himself behind her, passed his forearm under her chin, and started to swim while supporting her. I'm sorry. Don't worry. I'm sorry. Don't worry. It's easier like this, right? Yes, but I feel guilty. I told you not to worry, really. Do I remove this? She suggested while showing her large dress. I have a swimsuit under it. The item of clothing which was floating around her hindered her movements sometimes. It was starting to get in his way too. Sure. Don't watch. Oh, don't watch, she said in a singing tone. All right. He averted his eyes, and during a few moments he felt her wriggling under his arm. Haven't they just been naked in front of each other? Okay, I'm done. When he lowered his eyes, he discovered... Yeah, they just had both sex. When he lowered his eyes, he discovered the back of Una's neck. Her dress rolled in a ball on her chest, and her pale legs stretched out on the water's surface. They remained silent a moment. Then, those monstrous sharks, the young woman began. There are none around Besaid. We must have moved far away from our island. Blah. Titties. Or maybe the storm dragged them away from their territory, Titties objected. And they would have lost their way near Besaid? Yeah, I think so. I wonder if we were that far away when we sank. It was dark, and then with the morning mist we might not have noticed the island. Do you think that's Besaid we're seeing right now? Yeah, but you know it's better than me, so if you know it better than me, so if you say I'm wrong, I trust you. He pivoted so that Una could see the island. The shape is familiar, but something is wrong. What? The water's very cold, it's strange. Yeah, I've also noticed, the young man conceded. And this detail was worrying her. On the shallows which were surrounding Besaid, the water warmed up fast, but in the present case, her feet were freezing. You know... Una began with a hesitant tone. Yes? Titties encouraged her. We're not getting closer to the island. She was right. They'd swum in a straight line towards their destination, but Titties had the impression of following a very different way. I don't have a good feeling about this. Maybe they did it in the dark, like good old Catholic people. Was the current making them drift? If the movement of the tides was added to the equation, the danger was even more apparent. He stared desperately in the direction of the island. His right arm, with which he was swimming, was shivering with fatigue. He felt Una raising the one he had passed under her chin and pulling out her head. Thanks for your help. I was able to rest. You'll move easier alone, right? I'll manage. She had caught her breath. Okay, I'll go ahead of you. Yes, it's better this way. She left her dress rolled in a ball and smiled at Titties, but she was appallingly pale and her lips had blued. Let's go. Oh, let's go! He turned over in the direction of the island which had moved away again. Yes, let's go! Una repeated behind him. He assented and started again to swim slowly. He was wondering if from now on he could see the bottom. He plunged his head into the water to check, but as far as he was regarding, he was only meeting the darkness of the depths, exactly like the day before when he had returned to the world. He was wondering if the ocean was going to engulf him afresh. Was his destiny to dissolve in the darkness with his new memories of Una? No way! He was sinking. He swam towards the surface and got his head above the water. The island always seems far away. Una! He was exhausted. Say, Una! Titties turned over. He was alone in the middle of the water. No! He took a deep breath to plunge, but stopped himself and whistled quietly. His throat and lungs were burning. His stomach was heavy like lead. Okay, let's go. In order to save Spira's population from Sin's rage, Una had faced death, a smile on her face. Was it the same smile she had worn while they were swimming? She's not changed. It was the same for the distance between the island and them. Titties felt overcome by distress. I can't do anything from now on. He stared a last time at the so-desired land. He wasn't any closer than before, but he must have been seeing it from a different angle, because in the middle of the greenery he discovered an orange mark. It was the colour of the metallic towers with which Besaid was dotted. Una! He yelled. He gathered one last ounce of strength and plunged into darkness. Yuna, Yuna, Yuna. He was ashamed. 2 years earlier he'd come into this world blown away by sin, pushed by Orin, because Spira demanded a metamorphosis, and he was expected to be the catalyst. Was it the case this time? Spira is demanding me. No, it's Yuna who needs me. She wanted to change, but she did not manage to do it. That's why I'm here. He had plunged quite far under the surface, but he did not see her yet. He raised his head. The white dress was drifting gently on the waves. He turned round and scrutinized the darkness. Unlike water in blitzball spheres, seawater was scorching his eyes. He was hesitating over coming to the surface. He beat his foot and felt all his muscles tensing. They were screaming their exhaustion. He had already experienced this sensation during a match at Zanarkand. His body was going to freeze, he knew it. He had plunged quite far under the surface, but he did not see her yet. He raised his head. The white dress was drifting gently on the waves. He turned round and scrutinized the darkness. Unlike water in blitzball spheres, seawater was scorching his eyes. He'd hesitated to come to the surface. He beat his foot, blah blah blah. He'd already experienced the sensation during a blitzball match. He was going to freeze. In the middle of the match, he'd slipped before the crowd of spectators. He'd been a member of the team for a few months only. No, it did not happen. Only his experiences in Spira were real. The Zanarkand he remembered was just a dream. His chest was in pain. Was he drowning? Was he recalling a past accident? Impossible to say. Dad! The day he felt himself drowning for the first time, he called for his father, who had just put him in the water so that he could learn how to swim. That sounds like Jack. Tiddies had swallowed water a lot of times before managing to wade into Zanarkand's waters. His memories were becoming more and more muddled, but he was seeing his father again. He was swimming like a fish, grabbing hold of him and getting out of the water. I'm in pain, Dad, help! His eyes closed. Tiddies was scrutinizing the darkness in order to find his father. He's not here anymore. He was mindful of being in a narrow space which separated dreams from reality. If he'd let go, he could avoid suffering. I'm in pain. His body was burning him, his legs especially. The pain was real. His knees pulled up against his chest in a fetal position. He concentrated on this sensation. He was seeing himself drifting in the darkness. Who's there? Who is coming closer to me? He recognized a familiar impression, like the one he had felt when he arrived in Spira the first time, mixed with sin. He did not know any more if his eyelids were open or closed, but he was catching sight of a white shape. Yuna? It was really her, locked in a shadow, a black and shiny shape, different from the darkness which was engulfing everything. It had the shape of a man 5 times bigger than Yuna. The giant was holding the young woman in its arms and was coming closer to Tiddies. Who's there? He screwed up his eyes. He was suffering. It was the reality. The giant he was observing was his father. He was swimming like a fish. In his right arm he was holding Yuna, and in his left one. Thank you, Dad. And that's actually the end. So from what I knew and had read about the novel, it was split into 2 perspectives. There was his perspective and her perspective, and I knew that obviously these blitzball bombs were getting rolled around, and obviously he had to get on the island and kick one. So I feel like that's like all that's been translated so far. I think they do make it to the island, but I don't know where the rest of this translation is. So we'll have to say that that's all we've got for now, because that's all we've got for now. Hang on. Oh no, there's the 34 chapters. So that I don't think I can find the rest of the chapters. Yeah, that's it, to be continued. It's getting late, dudes. Yeah. That was 13 chapters. I can't find the link for the rest of the chapters right now. So yeah, I need to lie down. The rest of the chapters are somewhere. But yeah, that's all that they translated to on the page that I had got to. So there you go. That is a cliffhanger. What a cliffhanger, am I right? I can't find. We'd have to dig through. There is a thread. Let me have a look. So yeah, yeah. Hang on. In order to find the chapters, let's see if I can find chapter 14. Chapter. Right, yeah, no, that's all they've got translated into full English, so I will have to have a bit of a dig. I'll say this is part 1 for now. There's allegedly 33 chapters, 34 chapters, so maybe I'll, on a special occasion, read a bit more. I have read quite a lot. Should we do the audio drama now and then go to bed? Happy Hamiversary! Or do you want to leave the audio drama? I don't know about you guys, I'm tired. It's been nearly 3 hours. Let's check how long this audio drama is. I don't think it's as long, if that helps. Save the audio drama for later, maybe. I did my best with the reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so tired. Okay. So, let me just put this down here. Yeah, the Waka wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not giving Waka too much cred. Yeah, I think my unit. I've had a lot of practice on my unit. Okay. I think it's in here. Night night. I think we should probably call it, but if you want to listen to the audio drama, you can go. I'll just show you where to get it. Yeah, I don't think I can keep my eyes open. It's been a long day, but if I just show you it, I might do it. Hang on. I might do it. Hang on. So, can you hear steam?
I was given a new life. For a year, I was able to walk alongside Yuna. It was great. It really was.
Kurgum and I were walking down Bevel's Stadium Road, formerly known as Micah Road. The stadium that was supposed to be completed by now is still bearing its skeleton. Will the tournament really take place here? How will the council take responsibility if it doesn't? Well, it doesn't really matter to me. It has no bearing on my life. The real issue for me is the crowd up ahead, and the star shining in the middle of it.
Hey, Chuami, not that way. We gotta hurry.
Waiting on you, so we might as well just be late. Anyway, look. Isn't that Titus?
Huh? Oh, wow, it is him.
Let's go take a closer look.
Okay.
What, are you nervous? The reason for Kurgum's nervousness wasn't Titus's status as a Blitzball superstar, but because he was one of the legendary Guardians. Alongside High Summoner Yuna, he had literally saved Spira from annihilation. By the by, I too was feeling a little nervous.
Yeah, this girl.
My reason being that he knew my father.
Half an hour long, if that helps. We can survive this.
We always root for you. Go get him.
Oh, it's
Hey,
so awesome
thanks.
to meet you.
Cheer for me, okay?
Can I get your autograph? Oh, can you guys after my
get out.
great in that last match?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's so
Thank
great.
you.
Can
Thank
I get
you.
an autograph too?
Shake my hand, man.
I've been your fan since forever.
Titus, we're rooting for you!
I got it going.
Yep,
and now
yep.
I'm scared to look.
Yep,
like,
yep.
I did promise both.
It wasn't just his words that were hollow. When I shook his hand, his grip felt weak and lifeless.
Okay, well, I gotta get going. I'll see y'all at the stadium.
Now that is what you call a star.
Hello,
That I won't deny,
He's been
but
reading for
What is
like nearly 3 hours.
I think he's injured.
I'm like,
or maybe he's sick or something. Hey, Kurgum, which team is favored to win it all?
Probably the Besaid Aurochs.
And after them?
The Albed Psyches, maybe?
Okay, let's find a betting parlor. We might make a fortune.
Chuami, is that really... you know...
Allow me to make formal introductions. This is my childhood friend, Kurgum. If all was right in the world, he'd be a summoner. But things as they are, he currently serves as a council-authorized sender, who ushers souls to the far plane. My name is Chuami, and I serve as Kurgum's assistant. But in reality, he serves me.
Getting up.
Now don't misunderstand. This isn't about love or some such, and it never will be. The future may be uncertain, but that I know for sure. This is not some kind of ironic lead-in. Repeat, not a lead-in.
I think she's better than me.
Come on, let's go.
All right. We had been assigned to fly to Besaid Island on behalf of Spira Council Chancellor Barreleye. Just a minor errand, really.
Is that Besaid Island?
No, dummy, that's Kilika.
We are approaching Besaid. Prepare for landing.
Did you just laugh?
Of course not. Chuami, I can't breathe.
Prepare for landing, weapon yuck.
Our objective is to meet the one and only High Summoner Yuna. She currently serves as an advisor to the Yevoners. Now, Yevoners, you know the story with them. Stuffy, anachronistic fossils. They're the guard dogs of the old ways and so-called morality. The recent commotion caused by hardline Yevoners has been quelled. But it's nauseating to think that organizations like that still exist in Spira. I really don't like these Yevoners. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in meeting the heroine who defeated Sin 3 years ago and freed Spira from a 1,000-year curse. She also must have known my father well.
So, what business does the council have here?
My apologies, Mayor Lulu. But my instructions are to speak to Lady Yuna in person.
Oh, yeah? Well, then I guess we should let you see her. Not. Lots of people come here saying the same thing, yeah?
We're here to spare Yuna any unnecessary headaches. Now state your business.
But...
Well, I guess you got a job to do, too. Let's do this. I'll take you to Yuna, but I sit in on the meeting, too. We'll all share the pain, eh?
What pain is there for you, I thought. But I said nothing because the big-breasted mayor and the oafish caretaker were also legendary guardians. They knew my father, too, so it wouldn't have been wise to start trouble right away.
This place used to be called the Cloister of Trials. It's just a regular passageway now that there's no faith. Summoners used to walk through the room farthest down to meet with the faith. That's where Yuna is right now.
What's Lady Yuna doing there? I mean, if there's no faith.
Even with no faith, you can still pray. That's what Yuna does now.
what does she pray for?
Peace on Spira.
Yeah, right.
Say again?
Oh, nothing. By the way, Mr. Walker, I'm a little confused about Yevoners. Their objective is not restoring power to the Yevon temples?
What, we starting from there? Well, I guess it's pretty important, so I'll explain. Yevoners aren't trying to control the world through the teachings like the old temples did. All they're trying to do is live their own lives by the teachings. That's all. It's just one way of living.
I don't quite understand the difference.
The temples maintain several big lies. Sin being a manifestation of human misdeeds, the taboo against the use of machines, that kind of stuff. But everything else they said was pretty much on the money. Gratitude for the bounty of nature, respecting your neighbors.
But all of that just sounds like common sense. I don't think you need to become a Yevoner and pray.
That's why I said it's one way to live, not the only way. How old are you?
17?
So you'll learn soon. The older you get, the harder it becomes to change how you live. Even in this new age, there are people that are lost. Yevoners are a gathering of people like that.
So it's different from, say, New Yevon?
Those guys were just using Yevon's name to gain the people's trust, eh? Their views were actually progressive.
So the Yevoners are backwards thinking?
Wait, no, that's not what I meant. Anyway, New Yevon is gone, and now it's a council. What's the point of discussing it now?
So to sum up, Yevoners are basically a gathering of weak people?
Chiwami!
Why you gotta go and say it out loud? Everyone knows, they know.
If they know, they shouldn't just crawl into a hole. They should go out and try to live. They think they maintain the peace through prayer? Talk about delusional.
Chiwami, was it? Be kinder. Be bigger. Your kind of thinking will only hurt those people.
I didn't like how he said those people. As if he had no stake.
Okay, wait here. I'll bring Yuna. Just keep it to business. If you hassle her like you did with me, I'll throw you out.
Hassle? Perhaps I was hassling. I was irked. Praying for peace? Far too late for that. My mother was killed by Yevoner hunters. She was impaled by a spear and died with blood streaming from her chest. She wasn't a Yevoner, just a sympathizer. If it wasn't for them...
Chiwami, I know how you feel, but please, we have a job to do.
I know.
Just please. Oh, it's Lady Yuna.
Hello, and welcome to Besaid, home of the Yevoners. I am the priestess Yuna.
Greetings, my lady. I am Kurgum, an authorized sender. I have long wanted to meet you, and I have something for you from Chancellor Baralai, and...
I see. Then please leave the package and be on your way.
Hold on there. Did you just hear what he said? He said he's waited a long time to meet you. Ever since he awakened, he's been waiting for this day to...
No, it's fine. You must be very busy.
Kurgum, stay out of this.
But Lady Yuna said she's busy.
Busy? Too busy to eat? Too busy to sleep? Too busy to talk just a few moments to guests who came all the way from Bavel?
I apologize. I had to interrupt my prayer, so I'm feeling a bit anxious.
I think Spira is peaceful enough without your prayers. Sure, there's trouble here and there, but the council takes care of most of them.
I suppose so.
Huh?
Hey, we don't need that kind of talk. You brought something? Then let's see it.
Yes, here it is.
Kurgum gave the sphere he received from Chancellor Baralai to Yuna. The sphere showed an image of the moonflow. In its currents were two enormous yet adorable shoe puffs, wading together lovingly, tangling their long noses.
Two shoe puffs?
One morning, there was another one.
Well, where'd it come from? The Moonflow shoe puff is supposed to be the last one?
30 years ago, there was a shoe puff couple, but the female was attacked and killed by Sin. There are elderly folk who claim that it is that shoe puff.
The beckoning.
Yeah, it has to be.
But this time, it's not the Yevoners. We've forbidden the beckoning outside of the far plane.
I don't know the reason, but Chancellor Baralai insisted that Lady Yuna see this, then come to Bavel to discuss it.
Kurgum, you're a sender, right?
Yes.
Then you can do it too. This shoe puff is merely an illusion. If you send it, it will cease to be.
That's not the only problem.
The moonflow is overflowing again. The area around the moonflow is always teeming with spiritual energy, but this is abnormal. We need to find out why, on top of finding out who brought back the shoe puff. I'm pretty sure the council thinks it's the Yevoners. So it's best if Lady Yuna goes to see them personally. Her voice carries weight with many.
Baralai just wants Yuna to bail him out. Appease the council yourself, why don't you?
Waka.
Yuna was supposed to be spared from politics. That's why she shouldn't...
She shouldn't...
I'm so sorry. I can't go. But that will get you two in trouble, right? So let's do this. I'll create a letter sphere for the council, and you can take...
I saw Tidus in Bavel. Your boyfriend, right?
Yes. Did he look well?
He was hiding it, but he looked injured.
Really? Waka, did you know?
Nope.
Probably doesn't want to worry people.
Chiwami.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yuna, let's go talk to Lou.
All right.
After leaving the temple, we were left alone for a while. I don't know what they were discussing, but it was clear that Yuna was moved more by her boyfriend's injury than Spira's current problems. Hey, Kurgum. I'm a little annoyed.
But it looks like we can fulfill our duty. Besides, we get to talk to Lady Yuna a bit more. I always wanted her advice on how summoners should live in a world without the faith. And you can ask about Master Orin.
Shh. They find out I'm his daughter, they'll all start kowtowing. That info is our doomsday weapon.
Orin's daughter?
Mayor?
Is that true?
Yes, it is. Did you laugh?
Have you ever lived with him?
No, but I heard stories from my mother.
Have you even met him?
I was too little to remember.
Hmm.
You can't prove otherwise.
You don't look like him at all.
I take after my mother.
There were others that looked more like him.
Huh?
Oren, Braska, Jecht. I've met many a swindler claiming to be their children, asking for their things.
And you think I'm one of them? Are you calling my mother a liar?
I won't go that far. But if Oren did have children, there's no way you wouldn't remember him, and he wouldn't hide it from us. Oren isn't that kind of man.
Big breasts, bigger attitude. Just because she knows Oren, she thinks she can say anything. I've confirmed the mayor as a hostile, but that's just fine. I'll deal with her eventually. Anyway, Yuna, Kurgum, the caretaker Waka, and I decided to stop by the Moonflow before going to Bavel. The airship had mechanical problems and couldn't fly, so it was an arduous trip. Furthermore, the banks of the Moonflow were packed with people wanting to see the new shoe puff.
Oh yeah, there really are 2 shoe puffs. Wow, so many spectators here, yeah?
Not precisely, Waka.
Huh? What are they if they're not spectators?
Half the people here are illusions. The Moonflow energy is responding to the will of the living. It's as if we're in the far plane.
Yes,
What? You can sense it too, Kurgum?
yes, I can. For instance, that family there. The father and daughter are alive, but the mother... so sad.
I've never been on a far plane pilgrimage, but is it always this vivid?
Not quite. It's true, this almost seems too...
Come on, Melo. We have to get home before night falls.
Okay. Mommy? You're coming with us, right?
She can't do that, sweetheart.
But why? She's here. She came to see us.
Come on, Melo. We can come visit her again another time.
No, I want her to come home.
Ugh, nice work, Dad. Of course she's gonna say that. It's hard enough to say goodbye once to a dead parent, but twice? That's just cruel.
Hey, Mommy. You'll come with us, right? Come home?
Yes, Milu. Let's go home.
Really?
This can't be.
Lady Yuna, could this be...
unbelievable.
Kurgum, explain.
A beckon delusion doesn't speak. More accurately, only the beckoner can hear the voice.
So, what? If it's not an illusion, we call that real, right?
You should report this to the council at once.
Agreed. Let's go. Hey, Kurgum, what are you doing? You're gonna dance?
Souls must be sent. Order must be maintained.
Kurgum, not now. It'll only cause sadness.
But this is too unnatural. It's wrong. The council must have known about this and wanted you to see it, right? So you can do something about it?
Even if that were so, now is not the time. No one has the right to violate this reunion. Not me, not the council.
Forget about rights. Look how happy they are. You two start sending everyone here, there'll be a riot. I don't want to be collateral damage.
Well, a little sending here and there won't take care of this, right? Let's come back later.
But...
Kurgum, please.
And so, we return to Bavel.
Chuami, your shoe.
What are we waiting on?
importantly...
More importantly? Is there anything more important than my question? I don't think so.
When I stopped the sending, Lady Yuna looked relieved, right?
I guess.
I thought Lady Yuna was a righteous person.
Excessive hero worship. You expect too much.
Maybe... you're right.
Looking back now, we could have predicted this. What we saw that day at the Moonflow wasn't just an omen. It was a clear sign of the return. The return of what is now right before my eyes. Sin.
Sin? It has to be a mistake, right, Chuami? It's just some big monster.
No. That is sin. The sin that should no longer be.
Are you saying someone beckoned it to return?
Yes. Very strongly. Someone strongly wished for sin.
But what are we gonna do?
Only a summoner and the final Aeon can defeat sin.
But Lady Yuna, without the faith...
Yuna, let's go back to Besaid. They'll push this all on you. It doesn't matter to people that there's no faith. Sin is for summoners in their minds. It's just how it is. Kurgum, you coming?
I will abide by Lady Yuna's decision. Lady Yuna!
I have to see Tidus.
What is the deal with this woman? Seriously!
Chuami...
What are we waiting on now?
Chuami? Chuami, that room is... Shh. Chuami, it's not polite to eavesdrop.
Don't tell me you're not curious about what the High Summoner and the Superstar are talking about.
What does that mean?
You have that girl, so...
I told you, Marfi is just a friend.
Really?
Come on, Yuna. If you just think for a minute...
I can't think.
You're not yourself.
Yeah. Something's wrong with me. I didn't think this would... I'm sorry.
Well, as long as you're aware of it.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm sorry, but I'm no longer looking at you.
What?
I think I'm in love with someone else.
Who?
Someone you don't know.
Well, let me meet him then.
I'm sorry.
Kurgum, this is unreal. Unreal! The world is about to end and she's having a spat! Why on Spira are you crying, Kurgum?
Chuami, I'm sorry. I'm in love with Lady Yuna. That's why I can't be with you. I'm sorry.
Say what now? Since when is our relationship like that? What's going on here?
If it's not like that, then it's fine. Yes, let's say goodbye here. We each have to go our separate ways.
Kurgum?
You can't understand, Chuami. Only summoners can.
Ah, and there it is. The Doomsday Statement.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. So I left the summoners and came back to Besaid. I was a little frazzled and not thinking straight, but I probably came here to drag out the people who defeated Sin once. Determined though he may be, it was too big a task for Kurgum.
And that was it.
So you just came crawling back here? That's a laugh.
So who do you think this guy is, Yuna loves?
Figure it out yourself.
But she said it was someone I don't know. What?
Look for her. Find her. Embrace her.
But that's...
You're really pathetic. I thought you knew Yuna better than that.
I thought I did.
Thought you did.
I hate to interrupt, but Sin? Those two knew it was hopeless, but
Who said it was hopeless?
what?
I mean, Sin came back, right? What's to stop anything else from coming back?
Does that mean... I didn't quite understand, so I looked at Tidus. With furrowed brows, he looked intently at the mayor, then suddenly opened his eyes wide.
We have to go.
Yeah.
I was as confused as ever, but I couldn't ask. All I could ask was... I wonder where they are now.
Wherever they are, we have to get there.
Even though she dumped you?
I made a promise that we'd always be together.
Really? The mushy stuff now, I thought? But as I saw the pain in his face, I could say nothing.
I will defeat Sin. I must defeat Sin.
So how's that? So that audio drama is actually on your HC. If you click on the credits button at the bottom, I don't think it was intentional. I think they were just like, how do we make a sequel? And that's the best they could come up with. So they made that audio and were like, let's see how this goes. And everybody was like, no, thank you. Bringing Sin back? Are you serious? Like, splitting Yuna and Tidus up? Ooh, no. Get out. So, yeah, people like, yeah, it was not good. So, let's see who's on so I can raid and go to bed. Happy Hamiversary. Happy Hamiversary. Oh yeah, Keeper was on. I was talking to him, so I'll go drop you off with Keeper. He's a 9 runner who's come back to the fold. Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, happy Hamiversary. We did it. 4 streams, 4 nights this week. We did some speedruns. I've ruined your dreams with Final Fantasy X. Maybe one day we'll finish off that novella, but oh my god, yeah, probably Kayaki. Thank you so much for being a part of my 4 years on Twitch. Who knows what we'll do next time, but I have loved being a part of this. I've loved hanging out with you guys. These streams mean so much to me, so I hope you've enjoyed the Hamiversary experience. I really did my best with it. The reading was hard. I can feel my voice going. So I'm gonna go lie down. But yeah. Someone got murdered. Yeah. Next Hamiversary is the big 5. How do I even top this? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening. I will catch up with you soon. If you're not on the Discord, join the Discord. We're gonna watch some movies. I think you're all awesome. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope to see you again. Laters Gators. You're all awesome. I can't wait to see you again. Bye.